What's up, guys? Welcome to the September, I had to look at the calendar, September 22nd live show. We are about a half hour early, so if you guys are watching this on the replay, you can go ahead and skip forward about a half hour, and that's when the actual coral parade starts going on. So hopefully everybody's having a good weekend so far. The weather here is insane because yesterday it was every bit of 88 degrees, feels like 95, and today it's like 60 degrees with a high of like 66. So yeah, we dropped a good 20 something degrees. So welcome, guys. Marine Addict Aquariums, Michael Teft, Clint William, who was just here, Ravencaw, Cal559, hello. Checker Von Necker, do you ship to Germany? We do not. So real quick, I guess we can go over the rules of how this show operates. Real quick, tidalgardens.com/live will take you to what looks like, here, let me go ahead and clear this off. It should take you here. And right up at the top, you can see a link for, let's see, for the live sale there, right in the middle. And if you click on that guy, you'll see this video embedded, as well as the entire list of corals. Now, right there in red, it says like, click here to read the rules. That's going to spell out basically everything I'm telling you here. But the gist of it is, let's see, I'm going to put the rules back up, put this back up. The gist of it is you have to complete the checkout. You'll put those into your shopping cart, checkout just like normal. Shipping is a $39.99 flat rate and free over $250. So we can go over that a couple more times throughout the show because I'm sure that there's folks that come in, come out that haven't done one of these shows before. So I'll kind of do a recap. Mark Andrews, well, wait, I haven't had a chance to cook my ramen noodles. Take your time, Mark. We're not going to officially start for about another half hour. So yeah, by all means, take your time. We're just hanging out. What's up, Bay Area Reefs? What's up, Miguel? Robert Vega, love your channel. Thank you. Appreciate it, man. So John Moore is asking, hey, Than, corals are doing great. Just the green Monty is faded. So it's possible that whenever I see a coral that's faded, I always immediately think that it might have been in an area of too much light. And oftentimes that happens with SPS corals because people often read or hear that SPS like a lot higher light. But you always have to consider the lighting that it was in before it got to your tank. And if that particular system was not very bright to begin with, because a lot of SPS will do just fine in medium to even low light. So if it goes into your tank and puts, right underneath a light, right up at the top of an aquarium, it could bleach out. Let's see. I came there with my wife, we chatted, I bought them all from you. Yeah, it's entirely possible to bleach our corals once you put it into your tank. So yeah, that's it's almost better to err on the side of too low light than it is to overexpose. Because if you put a coral under too low light, it's probably, even the ones that demand really high light, let's say it's like an Acropora, it'll probably do fine for like even a month. But if a coral gets too much light, you're talking about like 24 hours. So gotta be careful of that. What's up, Braveheart Reefer? Focus 57. Just wanted to say I really appreciate the hard work you do in your videos. Thank you. Yeah, our channel's definitely taken a more educational slant to it. So I'm glad that you guys are getting something from it. So Joseph Loman, do you ship to Alaska? We do, however, it's an additional charge. So if you go to the Tidal Gardens website when you place your order, there's a miscellaneous section which has like a bunch of the different shipping modules and whatnot. And one of those modules I think is like a $25 upcharge for shipping to Alaska and to Puerto Rico. Don't think we'll be having that Bay Area Cleveland basketball talk anymore, Thanos. I'll send you a Champion Warriors t-shirt for next season. I'm good on that. No, I don't expect that the Cavs are going to be all that good right now, which is fine. Like, I'm still a Cavs fan. Like, I'm a Cavs fan more than I am like any particular player, and that often comes in the case of Cleveland sports with a lot of disappointment, which I'm used to. Let's see. Just tuned in from the Netherlands. What's up? And for the folks that, so who was saying that the GSP are opening during daylight but closed at night? That's pretty typical. That's pretty typical. Yeah. I don't know. The NBA is not that competitive. Like, I've been saying for like a while now that the current Golden State Warriors team would have basically swept every team in history like 100 out of 100 times. Not even playing. Is that in our driveway? Yeah, I think somebody's pulling up. It's probably the SWAT team. Oh, it's my dad. Or it's either the SWAT team or my dad. Ravenclaw. Although we can't buy in the UK, it's always worth watching as you show some fantastic corals, and advice is not bad either. Thank you. How do you feel about the Brown? You're talking about the Browns, like the football team? So, okay, assuming that you're talking about the football team. I'm really not a Browns fan, but it's a lot better to watch those games and have a chance of winning. So, okay. Usually that first half of the game is what it's like to watch Browns games, period. The second half of that game was very exciting and completely not what we've experienced for like the past 10 years. So I typically don't watch a lot of Browns games because it looks like that first half, which is generally an awful experience. Okay, when's the big party? You and Rico figured that out yet? We have not yet. We have not yet. Hold on, did I miss something? Ethan Lawson. Oh, he just wants me to start. No, 2 o'clock, guys. 2 o'clock. So when's the big party? We have not figured out a time yet, but we have to set it up with the church to get all the parking and stuff like that situated. But we will. We'll get to it. There's like a lot going on. I don't know if you know this, but there's a lot going on here. A lot of stuff kind of taking precedence. Does SPS coral need pristine clear water? I have issues with surface skimming, so dust floats on the top. Is that an issue for keeping SPS? Not necessarily, but more of a concern is just the surface getting like crud on it, because I don't know what kind of system you're running, but that's like a design flaw in your overflow. And hopefully we are talking about a tank with an overflow, because that's kind of what they do. They clean up that surface scum. Occasionally we'll get that on one of our tanks, and it's because some of our tanks in here, we got them like secondhand or something like that, and they have like really poorly implemented overflows. And so sometimes like it'll just get kind of mucky up there, and then all the scum stays on the surface. Do you ship corals to India? No, we don't. We only ship corals to the US. Hey, Lisa Aquatics. Speaking of like the goat, Lisa Aquatics is like the goat moderator, greatest of all time. Thoughts on flower pot corals, beginner friendly? Not so much. There's plenty of flower pots that'll do okay. So they're not exactly the most impossible coral that they used to be. Back when I started off in the 90s, the species of Alveopora that would come in were of a particular species or subset that pretty much would always die. However, a lot of the newer ones coming out of Australia, completely different species, they tend to be a lot hardier and can be propagated pretty easily. Still, is it for beginners? Less so. I'd say it's kind of middle of the road or possibly a little bit harder than the typical LPS. You got any more of that interesting SPS that you named after the guy you got it from? So it's probably Nathan, since that seems to be the only thing we ever name after a person. It's always like, oh, it came out of Nathan's tank. It's Nathan's Chalice. And eventually that's going to be some of Rico's stuff too. Rico wanted me to take so much coral. He wanted me to take all of his SPS, right? And I was like, no, I can't do it, dude. Because here, we don't do SPS that well in the summertime. There's all kinds of issues with summer and like pollen, heat, temperature fluctuations in general, photo periods too long, all kinds of stuff goes wrong, right? And on top of that, we are chock full on coral. So whatever you guys like purchase will help me out in just getting some space up in here. Okay, updates on Indo import. I don't think anybody knows. I mean, even like people in Indonesia, I don't think have a really clear idea of what's going to be going on. I'm new to saltwater. Any advice on a first coral? Believe it or not, I would say that most corals are probably beginner appropriate. What's going to be hurting you a little bit more is the fact that you're starting with a nano. That's going to add a couple levels of challenge. But if you wanted to keep it safe, like really safe, start with something soft. Leather coral, perhaps. Mushrooms, perhaps. Yes, the Nathan's acro. So, Lisa, at some point, I'm going to have to set up Nightbot so you can start spamming informational stuff. I apologize that I haven't done that yet, but haven't gotten around to it. But I will be playing with Nightbot in the future. Probably during, maybe not like a live show, but maybe during like sometime where I'm just like messing around. We're just having like a general chat. We can play around with like those settings. Because I was talking to Rico about how he had set up his Nightbot. I just never messed with them. I'm sure it's pretty easy though. What's the big sale consist of? Well, if you go to Tidal Gardens, the website here, you will see that we have about something like, oh, I don't know, 250 something corals. And you can also mix and match from the website itself. So if you see something that's just on the website that's not a part of the live sale, you can just toss all that into the shopping cart as well. So, oh, real quick, let's say some thank yous to the Patreon folks. So these guys, if you guys are like new to the whole YouTube scene, Patreon is like kind of a donation site for content creators. If, let's say you're out of the country, you can't even purchase corals to support Tidal Gardens, but just want to throw a couple dollars in, buy me a coffee, you can do so through Patreon. These guys have contributed either at the $5 level or above, so they get a shout out during the live show. So thank you so much, Alan, Christopher, Dave, Kevin, Mark, Nate, Robert, Ryan, Steve, and Trevor. And trust me, because I'm building this new expansion next door, Every little dollar helps. Every little dollar helps. Okay. All right, where was I? I'm going to catch up a little bit on the chat here. Can you save me a piece of Nathan's acro? Is it okay? Is it on the sale? To be honest, I don't know what's on the live show because the camera guy is also the guy that picks out the all the corals for the show, and he may have picked something out. He may not have. I don't know if we're waiting to grow that out and letting that get going. But at some point soon, I do need to go visit Nathan and pick up a lot more of his stuff. The biggest thing, the biggest problem that we're running into right now is we're absolutely full. And I desperately need to get this new building up and running so I can just like spread out more. Okay. Sorry, I am catching up on some of the chat, which is going very quickly. So I'm glad you guys are engaged here. So if I miss your question, I apologize. Maybe somebody else in chat knows the answer and can help you out if I miss it. When to feed polyps, when they're open or in the night when they're closed? Well, a lot of corals do open up at night as well. So it kind of depends, but over time what will happen is corals kind of will learn when food is available, and just based on that they'll start to open more and more and more. Okay, Gabriel, I'm finally getting to order today, Than. How will I know if the item is available? Is it real-time quantity? Yes. So also, you see that number 2 on this little list here, must complete checkout. So if you fill up your shopping cart and just wait till the very, very, very end of the show to check out, a lot of the things in your cart might have been bought by somebody else. So it's good to kind of like check out as you go and select local pickup / live sale / adding to an order, so you're not charged a whole bunch of $39.99 flat rate shipping, okay? But yeah, you'll know because it simply won't be there. You're maybe like number 56 and like, oh, okay, if 56 is somebody else's, it won't even be there for you to check out with. What looks better, people, Than or his coral? I appreciate that, Billy. Definitely the coral. Definitely the coral. It's much more colorful and probably healthier. And it definitely weighs less than I do. What time do you think you'll start at roughly? I will start at 2 p.m. on the dot. So in 16 minutes, Ethan. Everybody's like, can we just go? I'm like, no. Other people set their calendar. We're just hanging out. 40B nasty. Than, hope is all well for you. Thank you. I'm getting there. I'd be happier if I had less construction. That'd be nice. Dave's Nanotanks. What's up, Dave? Do you ever have brown jelly? Occasionally. It's kind of uncommon. And brown jelly is one of those things that will just kind of kill one single coral head. That coral will be dead, and then that's the end of it. So it's not like one of those things that just like spreads and spreads and spreads and spreads. So, yeah. I really need a neon green torch. So torches are kind of a love-hate thing around here. Usually they do pretty well. Sometimes they come with like a really annoying pests that are really difficult to get rid of. And then on top of that, they're really expensive because anybody that has an Indonesian torch, which tend to do okay-ish, they're either completely unavailable because of the Indonesian ban, or they're stupendously high-priced. And the Australian stuff was always high-priced. So it's kind of like this lose-lose-lose situation. And the bigger problem with Australian torches is that they grow a little bit too slow for a lot of active propagation. Tidal Gardens, why don't you start up a branch in India? I've been thinking a lot about expanding to other places, but first off, we're expanding to another part of my own yard, and it's been a challenge. So it's like we've expanded 20 feet over there, and I'm good on expansion for now, but we're always considering different geographies. Okay, Hunter, setting up my first saltwater. Congrats. Weird size, 60 gallons, 50, 18, 16. Okay. Would you go for 4, 6, 8 bulb for, or just for a softy beginner tank? I'd go for 4 bulb, because if you're talking about 18 or 16 inches, that's like the whole fixture. I mean, I don't think you can even fit a 6 bulb over that. It'll be really tight otherwise. Is it possible to black out turf algae and kill it all off? If so, how many days? I'm not a huge fan of like doing the whole blackout thing. I think it's like, it's next level risky when there's probably 10 things you could do before that that would probably work even better. Yeah, I mean, like turf algae is kind of rough, but I would even consider taking rock out and killing it and putting it back in before just like blacking out a tank. What is the best way to explain to my friends that corals are not plants? I'll tell you. You go to Tidal Gardens' YouTube channel, and there's a playlist called, I think, Coral Feeding, where you can just watch corals grab and eat shrimp. And if he still thinks that's a plant, then he's into some weird plants. I mean, obviously, I don't think there's any plants that just grab shrimp, so I don't know. Tissue necrosis on bubble, and it's dying. Any advice? So, kind of an open-ended question, but I'll bite on this. So the first thing I'm thinking is, are there issues with chemistry, specifically things like nitrate, phosphate? Less so phosphate, but definitely in the nitrate end of the spectrum, a lot of LPS can respond poorly to that, and that could cause something to go downhill. Other things that might be bothering it could be another tank inhabitant. Do you have something like a flame angel that you never see pick on anything? It's probably picking on something. It could be something that typically doesn't pick on coral, like a foxface. I love my foxfaces. They, once they get to a certain size, are a total risk of just eating coral. Like we were going to have a lot more in the way of acans and micromussa on this live show. Ben set up a whole bunch of acans and micromussa. He went to lunch, came back, they were all eaten by our foxface. So it happens. Oh, thank you, Lisa, for putting up the playlist. Appreciate it. Okay, and so where else were we? No matter what, I would leave the bubble coral in the tank, because they have a funny way of recovering, like little bits and pieces, and turning into new heads. All right, Mark's got his ramen noodles. Crisis averted. Do we need a calcium reactor for LPS and soft coral tank? No. Do calcium reactors help? Yes. But need is a really strong word, and a calcium reactor is one of those things that's a little esoteric, and a lot of, not even a lot, I'd say like the overwhelming vast majority, 99.9% of people in this hobby don't use a calcium reactor. I love them. I would recommend having one of those and a protein skimmer on any system that anybody has, pretty much. But is it super necessary? No, but it does make the job a lot easier. Chemicals all good. No foxface. Yeah, it's hard to say. What % of your aquarium water do you do for water change, and how often? It's a little different here because when you start with like 1,000-gallon systems, you don't need to change out as much water. If anything, I would try to stick around 20% per week, 2 weeks. That's probably a safe place to go. I'm a much bigger proponent of water changes than some other prominent aquarists, I don't know, like Rico. And even Rico, like for his new tank, is looking to do more with water changes. Because previously he did like the whole zero water change thing. But no, I'm not a fan of zero water changes. You would think that I have like stock in some salt company. I totally don't, but your life will be made easier with water changes. I have Recordia Florida. This is Phil Harton. That's running into a Favites. What should I do? Gotta move it. Those are the automated vents on my greenhouse. You're gonna hear that from time to time because we're in this like weird temperature range where things want to cool down and heat up at the same time. So it's when it gets a little bit too warm, these vents are gonna open and make that very, very pleasant sound. Let's see. Pat from Murphy's Aquatics just had to frag a coral due to turning into jelly. He saved it. Chalice coral fight each other. Do some get along? No, I'm pretty sure they fight. They fight a lot. What salt brand do I prefer? So my entire selection criteria for salt is like nobody else's. It's all about who can deliver it most conveniently. So I typically go with Omega. It's a local Ohio company. I guess I've been working with them for quite some time now, and they've even sponsored one of our videos. So I'm good with them. I like their salt just fine. It's done great here. Don't have any complaints. And again, it's like when you're ordering like pallets of salt at a time, like logistics becomes an overriding factor, not so much like, oh, well, this one has this little bit more magnesium, therefore I like it better. Oh, this one mixes a little bit more clearly. I don't care. If you're going to send a giant semi to my property that can't get up my driveway, we have a problem, not the magnesium. So that's kind of where I'm coming from. Any suggestions on getting a gold torch? Well, sometimes we have it, but we don't currently because they all sold out. They are expensive, kind of fragile, and typically a supplier that sells gold torches might try to make you buy like 10 other torches that are not gold. So there's that. Yeah, we're going to have some stuff coming. That'll be kind of interesting, but it's down the pipeline. If you're into like higher end stuff, generally speaking. Now I say generally speaking, like this particular live show tends to have more budget friendly stuff. There's some deals that can be had here and there, and generally we don't do like the super high end things. And I say that, and then I think there's like a $750 coral somewhere here towards the end. So I guess there is at least one. TMG, are you a businessman that likes corals or a coral man that learned business? I don't even know. That's an interesting question. Without getting too deep into my life philosophy, I think at some point I decided that for the rest of my life, I only want to do things that I enjoy, and I want to be compensated for that. And that's it. Like, I'll give up everything else for it. Because I used to dress like this for work. Working, doing business law stuff, managing intellectual property portfolios, running investment funds, starting companies and finding seed capital, working with venture capitalists, all that fun stuff, like, grown-up adult stuff. And one day I looked around and like, you know what? I'm kind of not that happy with life. This whole corner office thing, it was not what it's cracked up to be. And I said, I'm just going to do my own thing forever. So maybe I was a little bit of both. Let's see. Okay, Nathan Klein. Hey, Than, love the channel. Thank you. I have a mixed reef. They're all doing great. but my utter chaos pallies have just been receding badly. Any thoughts? If everything is doing well and one coral is doing poorly, I always wonder if there's like some sort of like pest issue or something kind of like munching on it. I'd kind of like inch in that direction. Any plans to get another yellow tip elegance? So this is Tyler. If there's a yellow tip elegance for sale, I would buy it. Period, end of story. I haven't seen one in about 5 years. Thoughts on Zoa peroxide dipping? We've done it before. This is a total anecdotal thing that I heard. But I heard it doesn't do well because what happens a lot of times is the Zoas end up swallowing the bubbles and that messes with them. Reef Dudes, that's a solid life plan. It's not a solid life plan. It actually involves you turning down a whole ton of money that comes your way from like, you know, from professional life to kind of like make do with a lot less money. Because most people's like hobbies and interests, generally speaking, don't have like huge high-paying market segments attached to it. Like, I mean, as an attorney, you can get like $250 an hour, that sort of stuff, you know. So you definitely have to make some concessions, and eventually, it all makes sense. But no, I appreciate the feeling there. It's definitely paid off. I have much less gray hair and much more hair in general after having left. Like it was weird. Like the day I quit, about like a month after that, I could actually feel the stress leaving my body. It was like the craziest thing. All right, we're almost ready to go, guys. I know some people were like chomping at the bit to get going. Got 2 minutes. Get them. You guys can look at something else other than this Sunny D and my live sale rules. May as well just put that guy up. Any experience with coral banded shrimp munching on corals? The last time I had a coral banded shrimp, it was 1997, and it ate a fish, so I stopped with that. Any advice on opening a local fish store cash-wise? I don't even know, because like different people start with different things. I know that you could spend a ton of money and it not be successful. So if you were going to start at the cheapest way possible and see where that gets you. Every place I see a yellow-tipped elegance, it's already sold out. Yeah, I think I mentioned in some video, perhaps an elegance video, that it's like a 1 in 10,000 sort of thing. Like I said, I haven't seen one in 5 years, at least 5 years, and I've always, like, I have a standing thing. Like, if there's a yellow-tipped elegance that shows up at a supplier, I'll buy it. I haven't seen one. Okay, real quick. Andre Russo, how does this live sale work? Go quickly to titlegardens.com/live and check out the rules link. Long story short, in order to actually get the coral, you have to fully check out. Don't pay multiple instances of the $39.99 flat rate shipping. You just select the live sale option, and we will aggregate all the orders at the end. Shipping is free after $250. Okay, long story short, titlegardens.com/live. Okay, let's get going. So we're going to be working, what, a 20-second shot clock? Yeah. Yep, we are good. We can move on. All right. Can we get an early start? We're starting. We're going. All right. Thank you guys for your patience. You Patreon? I did Patreon. I did.
Number 2.
And thank you so much, Lisa, for tossing those links into chat. That helps unbelievably. So I hope that, usually I would ask by now, after 40 minutes, but hopefully you guys can hear me okay. I don't need to turn up my volume or anything like that. Hopefully the corals look okay. There isn't some like weird graphical anomaly or anything like that. How was Macna? You'll have to ask somebody who went to Macna. Okay, so in chat, who all went to Macna? I know there's a few of you guys that went. The last show, I typically only make it to like one show a year. And it looks like this year that show was Aquashella. I was thinking about going to Macna. I was thinking about going to Macna for a while. Unfortunately for Macna, a completely different thing popped up. Well, it is cooperating, except to see that, okay, a starfish is eating like the algae on one of the thing's faces. No, this is a good point, okay? Not everyone, so that is an Asterina starfish, and they're typically considered a pest because they'll like multiply and spread out all over your glass. Now, most of the time, it's not a big deal. But there are some species of Asterina, I don't think this is one of them, just because of its size, but there's some that do eat coral. And they usually don't eat zoanthids, they'll eat like Alveopora. So you kind of have to keep an eye out to see if you have these, and if you have like the kind that actually eats corals. Typically these things just eat like algae, and that's probably what it's doing, it's just cleaning off that guy's face. Number 5 definitely is not cooperating. So let's move on to number 6. Okay. Olga, hello, lovely outfit there. Thank you so much, Olga. Haven't seen you in chat in a while, but welcome back. Yeah, so Reef Dudes, he did a bunch of videos of Macna when he was out there. So back to my random story about not being able to go to Macna. I'm going to be going to Vietnam in January with about like 6 other friends, and so I couldn't turn that down. So my travel budget for Macna got sucked up by Vietnam. Reefer life. Macna was fun. Favorite part was to meet everybody. Too bad I couldn't meet Dan. One day I'll make it back.
Number 7.
So, yeah, whenever it comes to like doing some of these live shows, and we have to move the corals from whichever tank that they're in into the slots for photography, right? And sometimes just that move, even though you give them like a day to open, sometimes they're like, nope, we're not doing it. We don't care. And so you get like occasionally like those Fiesta Zoas. It's going to be like, they'll be like great tomorrow. It's like, thanks you guys, a live show. We're not shooting you guys tomorrow, we're shooting you right now, but whatever. Pho plus honeys for Than. So, okay, this is kind of funny. So are you guys who went to Macna, and probably went to like any show these days, you might know of a guy named Frost from Frost's Corals. Well, he's a guy here that lives about 20 minutes away, here in Akron. And I saw him at Aquashella, and I mentioned, because he's Vietnamese, I was like, hey, Frost, I'm going to be going and visiting Vietnam. And the first thing out of his mouth was like, why? Why would you go to Vietnam? And I'm like, what's wrong with Vietnam? It looked great in photos. He's like, yeah, in photos. And I'm like, I understand it's like a little more poorer area of Asia. It's not exactly Singapore. He's like, no, it's not like Singapore. And then he just says, don't dress like this. Like what you're wearing right now, don't do that. It's like you need to wear like a tank top like me, so nobody picks your pocket while you're there. I'm like, oh great. I got that to look forward to. So anyway, we'll see. I'm going to be taking some video while I'm out there. I mean, generally speaking, like whenever I do like travel videos, they don't do well on my channel at all. Like I think the worst performing video I've ever done was when I went to Mexico and went diving with sharks. Nobody saw that video. So this video going to Vietnam might get similar treatment by the Google algorithm, but we'll see. YouTube algorithm. Same thing. You get robbed. Yeah. That's what Frost was saying. He's like, yeah, you kind of don't do that. Don't do that. They'll steal your camera too. That's great. They steal all my stuff. As long as they don't steal my passport. Yeah, we'll see. I'm gonna be like in kind of a resorty area. There's like this like resort island off the coast of Ho Chi Minh City, I think. I'm not good on geography, but I think it's near Ho Chi Minh City, sort of. It's called Phu Quoc, I think. And yeah, the pictures look great. We're getting a nice little villa. So come on, guys, it's got to be better than Macna, right? It's gotta. That, and I was actually at a trade show in Las Vegas earlier this year, so I kind of got my fill of Vegas for the year. Now we got to look up fan swimming with sharks. Thanks. You'd be like the second person who saw that video.
Number 13.
Yeah. Which, by the way, okay, I gotta say, I have this like this weird phobia. You know, like phobias are like completely irrational, right? I have a phobia of swimming in a pool, okay, like a chlorinated freshwater pool, and getting attacked by a shark. That's like this little nervous apprehension that I have, and I know that like clearly there's no shark in the pool. It's a chlorinated pool, indoors at a health club. Nothing's gonna happen. And on top of that, I pay money to go dive with sharks. Like I regularly, given the opportunity, I've done the cage dive thing in Hawaii. I've done the no cage thing with bull sharks in Mexico. I would do. If I was ever on the West Coast, I would do the great white thing. I would do all of that. But I have this weird phobia about swimming in a pool and getting attacked by a shark. Go figure. Okay, so let's see. Hold on. No, chat, you're too fast. Had a silent partner from Vietnam once and they stole my business. Dude, that sucks. Yeah, man. You know, here's the funny thing. I've had great business partners my whole life, and still some of those businesses just don't work out. I can't imagine how like completely homicidal I would be if I had a business partner that like totally like screwed me like that. You'll be okay. People are paranoid. Yeah, and the thing is, I'm not really that paranoid, and I do a lot of travel internationally, so I'm just gonna I'm gonna chalk it up to an adventure. Okay, Clint. I wanted to try the Zoa in my tank, but I read and heard about them being poisonous. Any input on this? A, it's true. They are poisonous. B, it's not so much of a worry. Yeah, like, don't do something stupid like cut them open and get them into an open wound or something. Don't set them on fire and breathe in the fumes.
Number 16.
Don't do any of that stuff. I mean, we probably shouldn't even say it, but like, we typically don't even wear gloves when we're propagating them. Is it best practice? Probably not, but then again, I think it's extremely common practice to not even wear gloves. And you know what? If I get criticism for that, I probably deserve it, but at the same time, the person criticizing me also knows darn well that they don't wear gloves cutting zoas. So no, I guess it's not that. It would be on the scale of my shark apprehension. No, it's more dangerous than that. You can always wear gloves. If you're worried, wear gloves.
Number 17.
Wear gloves and be careful with sharp objects. Reefapalooza, don't go scrubbing, don't boil rocks, yeah. So I actually know somebody locally that did have palytoxin poisoning. I mean, like he was like studied by like the CDC and things like that for palytoxin poisoning. There are a lot of like really scary stories, but if you consider like the number of people that don't have any issue with zoas or any kind of toxin, you know, there's precautions you could take. Yeah, I've had them squirt me in the eyes and like some and other places on my face. And that's worrisome. Believe me, I get worried. I get worried about that. Mario Hoffman, hello from Germany. Hi there. Thanks. Over here reading Harry Potter and watching Tidal Gardens. Awesome live sale. Thanks you, Matthew. Glad you enjoy it. Alex, love your channel. Thank you. I mean, okay, so the official company line, palytoxin is dangerous. There are precautions you can take to make it much less dangerous to work around. If it is a concern, take those precautions. That is the politically correct stance on that. I might be a total hypocrite. Oh, man. Oh, and here's the other thing. A lot of different species of like zoanthids and Palythoa have varying degrees or no palytoxin. So like if you've ever seen like what we call like a Jack Frost pally, or sometimes like there's like something like brown called Texas trash or whatever they call it. That stuff, I can just barely have it in my hand and I can feel bad things happening. Like they form thick mucus and I can immediately like feel it in my jaws and stuff. So I'm like, that's probably one of those ones that you don't want to mess with. Probably should wear gloves. Probably should never propagate that. Holla at your reef boy, another YouTube reefer legend. Hi Than, enjoy your channel. Thank you, man. Okay. Let's see. I just saw somebody asking about... Okay, Vinny Nguyen. I want to order something today. Will it get to Boston on Monday? No, it will not. It's going FedEx, priority overnight. So FedEx does not operate on Sunday. Therefore, we would be shipping it out Monday for delivery Tuesday at the earliest. Have you thought about using blacklight as moonlighting? So way back in college, we would occasionally throw some festivities at my house that may or may not have involved blacklights. And I did have a tank at the time, and we put blacklights over the tank just to see, you know, what the crazy coral colors would be. It's surprisingly disappointing. Surprisingly disappointing. You're better off with some near actinic type of LED for fluorescence. Angela, I'm up near Cleveland. Would I be able to schedule picking up anything purchased instead of shipping? Yes. So once you're all done shopping, just send us an email, or we will probably send you an email, and we'll figure out a day and time for pickup. People do it all the time. No worries. How about those browns? Dilly dilly. Dilly dilly. Yeah, Baker looked great. I have to be perfectly honest. I was not super excited about that draft pick. I was not super excited about Denzel Ward. And I look like a total idiot because Denzel Ward looks like Deion Sanders right now. And Baker Mayfield looks like Steve Young. So, what do I know? Justin Elliott, does Tidal Gardens ship to Canada? We do not. Sorry, Justin. There are some complications with that, and so international shipping really isn't in our wheelhouse. But, and I don't want to like throw this out there to get people overly excited, right? But there is some potential for shipping soft corals and polyps to Canada. So I'm not going to completely rule it out, but right now we don't do it. It's US only. What's up, Rico? Long time no see. No, Angela. Wait, about time. Okay, I missed the context of that. I have the same phobia. I don't like to swim in the pool alone. Yeah, swimming in a pool alone would freak me out. I'm thinking like Cthulhu from the dark, deep, dark abyss would come up. Reef dudes is like, do it, Dan. Those might have to be like some special circumstances. Oh, talking about the Browns, sorry. Yeah, the Browns. Yeah, they've been bad for a pretty long time. Albus Husky, wait, what is this? This is the Tidal Gardens live show. So think of it as like QVC for corals. I don't know how you navigated here, but hopefully you're into the reef aquarium hobby. Otherwise, this is going to be a very, 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 very weird conversation. Is it normal for a new cycle tank to get cyano? Not common. I can't imagine it'd be that strange either. Albus looks cool, but I'm a little confused. Okay, White Waves reefing. I've never ordered from the live sale. My question is there only one frag what is shown, or the multiple frags of each coral being shown? On this live show, it is just that exact coral. So you'll receive that specimen. In past shows, we have done a thing where it's like, we'll show something like super general, like maybe a xenia, and we'll be like, you know, there's like 10 of those available. So that's not a what you see is what you get one-to-one relationship. But for everything on this particular live show, it is going to be a one-to-one. This is what you see is what you get. Only that particular guy. Now, having said that, there might be multiples later on of different specimens, but there you go. And yes, it is first come, first serve. So you have to finish the checkout process to actually get it. Yeah, so I've not had any issues physically bringing soft corals across the borders. I've not tried shipping any though yet. Yeah, it's a huge risk, isn't it? Like, what if it just gets caught up in customs? I mean, nobody wants that headache. And it could be completely legal, but it's also completely legal for it to get caught up in customs. And so in that situation, you know, I try to look out for my customers, but that is like an extreme risk. So, you know, that's one of those things that we would have to like work out and understanding well in advance. If something goes wrong, it might just go wrong. And I don't know. I don't like putting the animals at risk over that, because from what I heard, like border security, they should know, and they're even aware of the animals that they have to pay attention to crossing the border, and that soft corals are okay to cross because CITES. If for those of you that are familiar with CITES, it's like the international treaty that governs the import-export of corals, but it is import-export specifically of scleractinia, which means stony corals. So a lot of the non-stony guys, polyps, soft corals, things of that nature. Yeah, Pachyseris throwing out some feeding tentacles. So yeah, there might be some possibilities, but it would have to be like a one-off thing. There's not going to be like a Tidal Gardens Canada shipping. Boom. No, we're going to work that out separately. Possibly. We'll have to see. Because that's a messed up situation just waiting to happen. So I'm sorry, Canada people. I'd love to do it, but it's a hairy deal. Hairy deal. 31. Derek. What's up, Derek? Connor Khabib, are you excited? I am. I am like 85% sure that Khabib is gonna wrestle that dude and beat him to a pulp. That's kind of what I'm thinking. Reef Dudes is like test subject right here. Hey, you know what? We might get adventurous one day. Will you be at the frag swap in Cuyahoga, Than? Probably not. So we will probably never be an exhibitor at a show. However, somebody from here might be going. Because believe it or not, the most enticing thing about a show for somebody like me is to actually go and purchase coral. Like, you get to see a lot of variety, and if we see something we like, we'll purchase it. Having said that, a lot of times I don't do the purchasing. Like I have a bad eye for coral now because I see so many corals here and I see so many corals generally that like my brain sometimes just like glosses over and just like my eyes just glaze, roll back in my head every single time I'm looking at coral shopping. But my mom loves it, and she can find like the best specimen at the best price all the time, and she loves it. Ben should go. Ben would probably really enjoy that type of thing, but I might not. Derek agrees. Yeah, Khabib is a different animal. Oh, so you're selling coral? Yes, yes, I am. So the fact that a lot of people from the US don't ship to Canada is also kind of telling, So that's something kind of worrisome. So Nick, I've never seen you mention whether you run UV on your systems. I do not. However, I would if I could. The reason why I can't is because when this greenhouse was constructed initially, it was never in the cards to have this much stuff plugged in. When we initially had our system set up, we might have had 3 things per 1,000 gallons plugged in. It'd be like a pump, a skimmer, and maybe another pump, or maybe a power head. Like nothing. It was like there's like nothing plugged in. Maybe a calcium reactor, so like 3 plugs. But now there's like, I don't know, 100 lighting fixtures in this place. I don't even know. So what quickly happened was we just ran out of electrical power. So if I were to plug in a UV sterilizer, onto each system, we would probably just blow breakers left and right. Lisa's taking off for a little while. Thanks. I will see you later, Lisa. There goes my chief moderator, guys. She's the best. She's the best. I feel lost. So this cherry blossom Alveopora. So somebody was asking about how difficult Goniopora were. A lot of times people think that Alveopora is a more resilient option. And on top of that, these things can be propagated fairly easily. And I kind of like their aesthetic a little bit better. I mean, that's just kind of like a personal bias there. But this cherry blossom variety has done like really, really well here. ATF, what are the shipping prices? I missed on that. Okay, real quick, $39.99 flat rate. Shipping is free over $250. Okay, and we're back. So we're looking out at the Picasa Rhodactis. You know, Rhodactis. So for those that are beginners looking to get into the hobby, I always recommend stuff like leathers and mushrooms. For whatever reason, Rhodactis really struggle here in the summer. So the ones that make it through our little summertime doldrums, they tend to do really, really, really well. And I love the color of this particular guy, especially like at the rim at the bottom. I mean, some of these get like rainbow colored and stuff like that. These opening and closing vents. Than, have I missed the Leptoceras? No, not yet. We'll definitely have Leptoceras on this show. I don't see any coming up right away, but we definitely will have some. Say no, Chase. All my Alveoporas from TG are doing very well. Great. Good to hear. Alien Scientist fan. Shout out to Montreal. Just made it. What is up? You may have heard this story before. I used to live in Montreal before I lived in the US. What's the extension of Alveopora? Or should I say how long? Not more than like an inch or two. Not too long. Now, Alveopora, definitely not something I'd recommend for beginners, but that just might be more reputation than practical keeping of them. They seem to be doing pretty well here. I'm sorry guys, I'm reading chat. Like, just having a total brain fry. Oh, Reef Dudes never knew. Yeah, I used to, this was like when I was like a little kid though. I must have been like 5 years old or something. We're on number 41, correct?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. How long did you live in Montreal? Was it for, no, it was not for university. My dad was actually working at McGill University at the time. And so I was like a little kid. I was like 5 years old. And from there, we moved to Massachusetts. So this was like way in the 80s. And yeah, I remember I liked it as a little kid. I remember, you know what was really weird though? I don't remember it being cold. Which is insane because Montreal is very cold. Nick, I live in Columbus. Would it be worth shipping? Could. A lot of people in Columbus and like Cincinnati and stuff like that, they have their stuff shipped. I mean, it's a 2-hour drive each way. So if you wanted to drive up, and plenty of people drive from Columbus too, so you're kind of in that zone. So it just depends. I mean, if you wanted to see the place and potentially pick out a lot more stuff, that is a possibility. So of all mushrooms, Rickordia like holds like a special place in my heart. Especially like the Florida Rickordia. And unfortunately, we can't do it here, but I love it when like there's like just an entire huge rock covering, just covered with Florida Rickordia. Like here, unfortunately, we have to separate them all into little plugs. But no, when they're a big colony together, it looks great. That's 45?
45. Yeah. Sorry.
It's like, are we going back in time? Yeah, if you're at all local, it's worth making a visit at least once just to see what this place is all about, because what's on the website is only a small fraction of what's actually here. That's one of our biggest struggles, is to have a fair representation of what we're actually selling here on the website. And we do most of our selling on the website. So I'm not doing a good enough job at that. But yeah, if you're local and you want to see like a lot of coral, it's worth a special visit once, at least once. How many orders do you get a week on average? It's all over the place. It's typically a lot slower in the summertime. Like the entire industry kind of goes to a crawl during like the summer months. And I think it's just, there's other activities, if like your kid's into football or whatever, it's every baseball. There's just, you're mowing your grass more. It's just all the activity shifts outdoors. And a lot of times, like the inside hobbies kind of take a back seat. So there's like a lot of stores that if they don't have maintenance contracts, like tank maintenance contracts, they can't even stay above water. Generally, how long do corals survive in the shipping box with a heat pack? So this is Darth Loki, the Darth Loki. It depends on the coral. You really don't want it to be in there for more than 24 hours, I would say. But having said that, we've had, what was the worst case scenario that I think it was like some box of corals, no joke, was held up for 5 days. It was a colossal screw up by FedEx. But it was like 5 days. And I'm just thinking, you're going to get a refund for everything. I don't even need to see pictures. I don't care. All of it survived.
Anemones too.
Yeah, they're like anemones. Like I had no faith, none. I totally wrote it off. So I was just glad that like all that stuff survived, and I don't even mind giving that guy like a full refund. It was ridiculous that it was like that late anyway, but I just assumed that they wouldn't make it, but they did. For the longest time, this Parietes I thought was a Montipora. Longest time. But sure enough, it is a Parietes. Like a lot of the corals, even for people like me that have seen just so many, like, sometimes you get these guys that are like a weird species variant where, we're not really sure. Is that a Parietes? Is that a Stenocineella or whatever those things are? Yeah, Stylocineella. Is it a Stylophora? I mean, there's like all these little intricacies. Aquifer Greenworks, glad to hear that everything survived. Good. Hey, what's up, Michael? Glad you could make it. What diameter are your frag plugs? They are 1 inch. 1 inch. So our temperatures here are very strange. At the beginning of the show, I mentioned that yesterday was 88 degrees. 88 degrees because of humidity feels like 90 something. Today it's like 60. Otherwise I'd be boiling hot. 51. Keaton, where are you guys located? We are in Ohio, Northeast Ohio, in Akron. So, real quick, Reef Dudes, where in Canada are you located? White Waves, what's your hours of operation? It's all by appointment, so we're actually not open to the public. thinking of coming out would be coming from Indiana. Yeah, it's definitely worth a trip. But yeah, just set something up in advance. And we're pretty flexible when it comes to scheduling. Home of LBJ. Yeah, he's actually, well, he's a little further nowadays, but his house here in Bath is like 5 minutes away from here. He lives in like a regular old neighborhood. And I didn't even know this for like the longest time, but I used to like attend a health club, and I didn't know this, but the back border of that health club is like touching his property. So like it's like right here. Okay, so somebody was asking about UV, like basically the stuff past the visible spectrum. I don't think that we really have any good ideas of that. There's not a ton of experimentation when it comes to that type of topic. Now, if you look at kind of like the different chlorophylls that are in coral, the different, I think, what are those things called? Carotenoids or whatever that are actually photoreceptive. A lot of that stuff doesn't have absorption peaks outside of the visible light spectrum. Sorry, vents. So you're looking at like the typical absorption peaks are at what, 620 nanometer, which is kind of red, and 430 nanometer, which is blue, like a deep violet. So anything kind of like outside of that typically doesn't get absorbed. So I wouldn't expect ultraviolet or infrared to do a whole lot with that. Could, but I'd be kind of surprised. Yeah, I'm shocked that he lives there. Well, you have to understand, like, he lives in like a regular old neighborhood, but his house is not regular. His house is like a $30 million giant thing, but the house next to his looks like my house, which is not a mega $1 million thing. How strong should my flow be? I have 2 wave makers. Okay, so that being the metric system, I have no idea how much flow that is. But just look at your corals. Make sure that you're not blowing the flesh off of them. Look at your sand. Make sure it's not going all crazy. What do I have lighting this tank? Jeff's Reef Tank is asking. This is a T5. It's actually a really old T5. These bulbs are probably a year old, if not more. And they are a combination of Coral Plus and Blue Plus. Now, in a little bit, the lighting's going to get really weird. It's going to get really weird because on that tank, it's going to be a combination of like actinic and Blue Plus and possibly a Purple Plus bulb. It's going to get all goofy, so we have to kind of compensate for that. Andrew, +1 to visiting the greenhouse in Copley. Amazing just to walk around. Thanks. Glad you liked it. Okay, Miss Reaver Fox, there you go. You got a little bit more clarification on what goes into photosynthesis for corals. Are the lobophilias on frag plugs? Yes, they are, right? Lobophilias?
Yeah, they're mounted.
Yeah, they're mounted on frag plugs. So we try to mount as many corals as we can on frag plugs, specifically for shipping. The way that we ship is we use like a little styrofoam float. Is it styrofoam? I guess it's like closed cell foam. So it's like one of these guys, right? And we punch a little hole in there, and we get a plug and just sits right in here. And you know, you would think that, oh, it's because it floats. You know, we don't use it because it floats. We use a cup where like the circumference of the cup is just slightly smaller than this square. So it basically just wedges in there. And so the idea is when we hang this thing upside down, it's kind of like just wedged in place. So the coral here essentially just has like no place to move at all. So it doesn't bump around or anything like that. best laid plans of mice and men though, right? What sometimes happens is that shipping is so rough that a plug that sticks through this entire guy here, okay, will sometimes get dislodged and the thing will roll around in the cup. So in essence, it's like how most people would pack them. They just like pack it in like a bag or a cup, just send it, right? But no, we actually fix it. But sometimes shipping is so rough. I don't know what they're doing at these shipment centers, but I can pretty much guarantee you that when we say like this end up on a box, that is the last time that that end is going to be facing upwards. So we try our best. If I didn't have a red Goniopora, I would pull the trigger on one of those Alveopora. Why not both? Why not both? Oh, man. We've had a lot of people on the live show today. I wonder what it is about today. I am not complaining, though. So thank you all for coming and hanging out. Use fishing line in an X pattern around the foam. Yeah, that's sounding like more work. It could help. It could help. So you have to also understand, like, we ship a lot of coral. It's a lot of work. To me, it wouldn't contrast well. Okay, I gotcha. It is an aesthetic hobby, after all. It's the autumnal equinox. There you go. Yeah, aquarium season is starting. It's gotta start, because you know what? It's actually been a little slow. Now, okay, this is like some first world problems, okay? When I say slow, it's slow for us. It's not like, oh, we're just completely dead. We're never actually dead, but it's slower this month, which is kind of weird. And I kind of chalked it up to like, being kind of like the last little remnants of summer. Kids are going back to school, and I'm sure that, you know, parents are real thrilled about having to spend, you know, all that money on back to school stuff and all the back to school specials and whatever. So I kind of get it, right? But yeah, it was a little slow. And I'm sure that like other people are like, what do you mean you're slow? Like, you're fine. Stop complaining. And I get that too. But for us, it was a little slow. Angela, how's the new facility going? It is stupidly slow. Like, oh my gosh. So one of the other stores came over to drop off some acrylic work yesterday. And he was just like, I'm noticing that there's nobody over there working on your building. And I'm like, yeah, welcome to my world. Welcome to my reality for like the last week. I haven't seen many of my contractors in like 2 or 3 weeks. It's insane. Like, when there's a little bit left to do, the last thing like some of these contractors want to do is to show up and do a small project or something, or to finish what's left of a big project if there's only like 1 day of work left. So like, I swear, a couple of these contractors literally have 4 hours or less of work to do. And I can't get them on this. I cannot get them scheduled. It's like the worst, most annoying, frustrating process. But if there is a bright side to it, I don't have to pay anybody. Okay, if I missed the numbers for lobophilias, Nick, how do I find them on the website to add them to my cart? I think you can still scrub backwards through the video and find them. But yeah, but look around 45 and 46. Keaton Witt, Indonesia shutting down sucks. Yeah, less for me than a lot of places, just for the simple fact that we do a lot of propagation, but it's definitely made an impact on the industry. Do you let copper band butterflies near Euphyllia? Yes. Are there any torches in today's sale? No torches, sorry. And thanks, guys, Reef Dudes and Alien Scientist Fan. Thank you, guys. Hit them likes. It's funny. It's like when I'm watching like other people's. So lately, like when I do have the chance to catch Reef Dudes, catch Rico, catch Aaron's Aquariums live shows, and it's always funny when I see like them making the call for like hitting the thumbs up button, and I just look over and it's like I hadn't hit the thumbs up yet, and it's like the easiest thing to do, and we just like don't do it. So for all you guys that have hit the thumbs up, thank you. I appreciate it. Yeah. Now, super chat is a completely different thing. Like, I understand if nobody wants to give me a super chat since I'm like actively selling. I get it. But I'm also gonna say, I could always use that money. That could always be helpful. If you saw some of the bills that I see associated with this building project, it is insane. Like, so this coming week, I'm trying to make plans to go and get aquarium stands for half of the new aquariums that are going to be going into the new building. Okay, we have to make like special plans because it's 4 skids of aluminum T-slot framing, each of which is about 1,000 pounds. These are just the stands. These aren't the aquariums. They're just the stands. And I've already paid for the actual aluminum portion, but I haven't paid yet just for the logistics of getting them into my possession. It's not that fun. Not that fun. Oh, there we go. $1.99. There you go. Thank you, man. There you go. Thanks, dude. I appreciate it. 2, please. Coming through with the super chat. Yeah, trust me, it helps. Like I said, it like the logistics of it's like everything's like a cool dream until you're like seeing just how much, like everything's expensive now, like so much. Like wood is expensive, metal is expensive, glass is expensive. Crazy.
All these super chats are going to go into the Halloween live show beer fund for you guys.
Yeah. So Ben just said all of the super chats are going to go towards the Halloween beer fund. Ernie Wallace, $2. Thank you, dude. I appreciate it, man. Yeah. So we'll put it towards the Halloween festivity. See, now I feel guilty. K-Town Reefer, man. Thank you. $13.99. Very, very generous. Enjoy the stream, though I can't buy anything like looking at the candy. Man, I appreciate it. Thank you so much. Yeah, K-Town. Alien scientist fan. Thank you, man. $2. I appreciate it. It's all the Canadian guys like chiming in. Thank you, man.
That's right, Dan. You sing for your supper.
What?
That's right, Dan. You sing for your supper.
Yeah, I sing for my supper. This is bad. No, you guys are awesome.
Number 70.
Okay, moving on. Number 70. So the one thing about like doing these live shows, I'm always kind of concerned, is that we put the corals so close to one another, and then out of the corner of my eye, you can kind of see that this Platygyra and the coral next to it might be beefing a little bit. 9.2 please with the $9.99. There you go to get that started. So I don't drink a lot, but I always do make it a point to have some beverages for the Halloween thing. And I haven't figured out what I want to dress up as this year. Like last year, was last year the Aquaman costume?
Last year was, yeah.
Man, yeah, this is the Jason Momoa version of the Aquaman costume. Gabriel Montero, I hit 250 in the sale. Hopefully that's good. Dude, thank you. You're absolutely good. You're absolutely good. Do you ship to Canada? We currently do not, but it's something that we're exploring because a lot of the issues with international shipping revolve around shipping stony coral specifically. So there might be a window to ship some polyps and soft coral to Canada. But there's a lot of research I want to do on my end, and there's a lot of risk on both of our parts in case like there's like a misunderstanding at the border and stuff gets hung up. So right now, technically no, but it's also a possible maybe. Monnier McNamee, Dan don't drink a lot. Lies. I really don't. But in fact, of all the times that I drink in a year, I think you might see me do it, like for half of those times on the broadcast. March live show. Yes, we did drink. And like I said,
Number 73.
I'm trying to think. I think I had a drink at Aquashella, which was what month? August, August ago. But yeah, dude, that March live show was so good. So if you guys don't know what we're talking about, another YouTuber from China, Matt from Jayo Nation, came over, and it also happened to be St. Patty's Day, and so we had a good time. We all had a good time. Space Force Commander. Thank you, man. $2. Keep Coral Pretty Fund. Dude, man, I appreciate it. Thank you so much. How often do you do these live sales? Sucks I can't buy anything now as I'm waiting for my large tank to cycle. We try to do them about once a month plus special events, which technically the only special event we've done is Halloween. But we should add more.
Number 75.
75. Okay, so guys, we're talking about the Indo ban. Some of the stuff that was generally very common, very, very, very common, is going to be in ridiculously hot demand. And this is going to be one of those things. Because like Indonesia shutting down, like a lot of the things that people were just so used to like being around, it's like, oh, who cares? That's just some common coral. It's a common coral in Indonesia. And now it's like, it's very difficult to find stuff like Calastria, the candy canes. And I was like telling some people, it's like when I look at their tanks, I'm like, you might want to hold on to that because you're not going to be able to find more of that. If you propagate it like crazy, I'll buy it. And I've never said that before about like candy canes, right? But no, it's stuff like this is going to be like a hotter commodity just because you can't get that influx in mass from overseas anymore.
Number 76.
Do I ship to India? No, I'm afraid not. We only ship to the US. Live shows brings you to drinking. Yeah, it's true. Yeah, Matt, it was, I've had a lot of great guests. Matt's on a different level. Like, that guy has got some stories. I really hope that he comes back to the US at some point and we can hang out again.
Number 77.
Favorite method of feeding crocea clams? Somebody else is going to have to chime in on that because we have a very, very, very long history of doing poorly with tridactid clams. So Olga, as far as like the Indonesian ban, because a lot of people are curious about this, and unfortunately there aren't a lot of really good answers or a lot of people with really good inside knowledge of this. There are like hardcore industry people, and many of you guys have seen interviews with them at Magna, okay? And so I'm trying to think of like who did it most recently. They kind of all blur together, so I'm sorry, I don't know which channel. But you can find some different perspectives on the Indonesian ban. So just like look up MACTA 2018 and see who people had talked to. So anyway, there are people that would bet their life that it's going to be like a 2-month thing. Indonesia is going to open right back up. It's no big deal. It's some clerical thing. It's just some paperwork. It's going to open right up. No big deal. Stop panicking. Other people are like, it ain't opening up ever again. You have like those two ends of the spectrum. And then you have some people who are like, we hope that it's that they will open up again, but our bet is that it's going to be closer to 2020 than it is going to be to any time soon. So, yeah, tough to say. But for those of you that don't know, okay, and people are like, well, so why do people care so much about Indonesia? Because previously, like Hawaii had shut down, Fiji had shut down, I think one other geography had shut down, and it's like, okay, all right, whatever. And then Indo shuts down. Indonesia, I think, was like 70% of the entire industry. Like, everything came from Indo. And so right now, pretty much everything is coming from Australia, Tonga, which has a very, very bad reputation, and Vietnam, and the Caribbean, for only things like Riccordia and flower anemones and things like that. So there's no stony corals obviously coming out of the Caribbean, not legally anyway. So yeah, there's definitely some supply side issues. So if you have some stuff that's identified from Indo in your tanks propagating, might want to hold on to that. Go long on that stuff. What's up, Briefing with O? Thanks for joining. Yeah, and if you guys are successful with that, I mean, we regularly purchase, things that we're looking for, and when supply gets tight on something like that, we're looking for more things. Yeah, and Sabella fella heard the same thing. 2020 is the most likely. I don't remember who said that. Was it Walt Smith? But it's hard to know, right? It's hard to know. A lot of what's kind of throwing a wrench into things too, and it's not a wrench. It's just it's a political complexity. Is that there's other like environmental accords and treaties that countries are entering into, and unfortunately for this particular industry, by the way, that is a great looking Favia. Like, I'd be surprised if this stays available for very long. Because that is an outstanding looking specimen. But anyway, back to the whole geopolitical industry thing. It's very easy to pick out small industries, small, highly visible industries like aquarium and fish keeping, reef keeping, and appease kind of those environmental like restrictions and regulations. So oftentimes, like, it's very easy to scapegoat, like, these people with these garish aquariums are the problem, and nobody will ever turn an eye to like the global fishing industry, that probably does more damage in like 5 seconds of activity than like the entire history of the entire ornamentals hobby in ornamentals industry. But it's like the low-hanging fruit would be industries like this. So like, Walt Smith, he's like a big deal in Fiji, but you're not a big deal compared to like Sunkist, it's like, it's all relative, right? So yeah, so he's going to take the hit for that. Okay, Johnny Jordan. I accidentally broke my frog spawn in half when I was removing from a frag plug. Will it survive? Or should I do anything to ensure that it's right? It's probably will be fine.
Number 86.
Number 86. Okay. Another war coral there. Kent of Mississippi. Does anyone sell Riccordia Florida anymore? Yeah, we do. We had some earlier on the show, and we still have some on our site. Nick Johnston, it's dapper thin. It is. It's time. We're getting into the good time of year where I can actually wear nice clothing. Because you can't wear nice clothing when it's like 95 out. My Leptoceras don't do that. They're growing, but they don't send out sweepers. I think a lot of it has to do with two things. Feeding and close proximity to other corals, just for the purposes of this show. Yeah, usually they don't do that. But if you're feeding like rotifers and stuff like that, Leptoceras will send out like mucus strings like that to eat. Hey Than, do you think we need to change our messaging regarding the bans? I was born in Jamaica. I've seen the reduction of the reefs. I don't think our message resonates with people in these areas. It's an interesting question. I don't know. I remember like somebody, I think it was the person from Neptune Systems on one of the Magna things, was talking about how like there really is no like public relations aspect to the aquarium hobby. I mean, there's like some pet lobbying groups and things like that, but again, the pet industry is cats and dogs. Like, don't even get that twisted. Like when you're talking about like a pet lobbying organization like PJAC or something like that, they're lobbying for cat dog stuff. Like the aquarium stuff is the tiniest of percentages. One of my friends works at a very, very large like international pet conglomerate, and he basically said, listen, we sell more dog and cat collars in one day than the entire aquarium industry sells the entire year. Like the aquatics industry is so small in the grand scheme of things. And so there probably is a PR problem. There probably is a messaging problem because I don't think anyone's really doing it. I mean, I guess like there's YouTubers that are doing their part, and hopefully, that'll go somewhere. But as an industry, I don't think it's been done at all that I can think of. I mean, maybe if somebody in chat can kind of like think of like public relations type stuff that would be resonating. I mean, there's no Jacques Cousteau anymore, right? I can't think of anybody. Does cutting coral for propagation considered animal cruelty? Can't imagine. Things do way worse in the ocean. I mean, it is a way for them to actually reproduce. I mean, that is one of their survival strategies. It's on the table. A lot of these things do sexually reproduce in captivity too. Much less common, but it happens. Number 90. This is where the color temperature is a little weird, Ben.
Yeah, I got it at 56.
I think I would go towards the more blue end.
That's auto.
Okay. No, I'd stick with the Kelvin rating, but that looks even better there.
52.
Yeah. So, like I said, when somebody was asking earlier about the lighting that we use, it's T5 bulbs, but this particular section has the weird bulb combination. And Jacob, thanks. I'm glad that you're into the 1080p 60. Yeah, we're always trying to do different things as far as like technological stuff goes. I think 1080p 60 might be our cap for a little while though, until I can get better internet, and at that point I need to make some hard choices as to whether I really want to be streaming in 4K. Because it's like, how many people can honestly consume 4K content, period, and would they do so for a live show? And then do I want to show my face in 4K without makeup?
92.
It's like, like you see these online on-camera anchors and stuff like that, or actors and actresses. They're like horrified. They were horrified when full HD 1080p came out. Now 4K, it's like you're gonna see every single wrinkle and pimple. Nick, wife is in Warren for a wedding. She's coming back to Columbus tomorrow. Is it too short notice to have her pick up the order on the way back tomorrow? It is not too late. I'll have to get to, we might have to kind of play that by ear, because I typically don't get to emails and stuff like that until this evening sometime. So we'll have to try to do like a short turnaround there. But we can try to do it. You need to get fiber so you can do 4K. So the guy at zoning here in Copley, we are on a first name basis. He knows I want fiber here. There's other communities around here that are getting fiber. The issue with my particular city is that it's more rural than some of these other places that are a little bit more more residential, suburban. And so our area is a lot more spread out and a lot less concentrated. So like the argument to put in fiber, because the demand for it is simply just can't be as high, and the implementation is going to be more expensive because of the amount you have to go. So it's a tougher sell, but I've made my position on that very clear to those guys. It's like, give me the fiber, I will make some strong plays. Yeah, I would love to be able to, assuming I don't look like a complete zombie on screen, I would like to be able to do like a 4K live show. Because I mean, who's doing that, right? No, I think that'd be absolutely amazing. So we started off the show doing a lot of Zoas, and we're getting into our second run through of a few before we head into some SPS. So if you guys are wondering the size of these guys, the plug that it's sitting on is roughly 1 inch in diameter. So I was always kind of thinking about Zoas and how some are like microscopically small and others are just like so big. This would fall into like the big kind. And by the way, they're called Fiji rainbows. They're not from Fiji. Like Fiji's are actual Zoas from Fiji are very, very tiny. This is called a Fiji rainbow. Like it's as if it were a rainbow in Fiji. So I think that this may be Indonesian, actually, now that I think of it. Super J, I watched your first live sale the other day. Wow, you've come a long way since then. Thank you. Yeah, we sure have. And the thing is, it could be better. We can always do things better. So I'm always like working on new techniques that might be helpful. But it's these little changes every now and again that kind of eventually turn into something good. You know, it's really weird how like the first MACNA that I went to was the one in Denver. This was probably 4 years ago, I think. And I was probably maybe one of like a handful of people that even had a camera at this event to make videos. Like there weren't really a lot of YouTubers back then. You know, that's where I met like King of DIY. And you know, he wasn't like a small YouTuber. I mean, he had like 100,000 subscribers at the time, but now he has like 1 million, you know? And it was like him and maybe like 3 other people that had cameras. And then you fast forward it to like this MACNA. Now I didn't go, but I practically didn't have to go because there's hundreds of people there with cameras and I don't know, dozens that are live streaming from the event. Very short period of time, tons of development as far as like media goes. So I need to up my game. I can't just sit back and be like, oh, the live shows are pretty good. I'm gonna keep it this way. No, I need to do better. How much you charge for shipping to California for one of these? All right, so 2 Please has got your back. $39.99 is the flat rate shipping, and shipping is free if your total order is over $250. So Tony S, live show displays looking good, thank you. One thing that we're going to be doing differently, we actually get different racks coming. Those I'm really looking forward to. This is number 100. Oops, I got snagged here. The $250 free shipping is the best deal as far as like, so anytime you can get to the free shipping threshold for overnight shipping on like corals, hit that threshold. That is the best deal you will ever come across, because shipping is insanely expensive right now. I was talking earlier about how, like, oh, the price of wood, the price of like materials for construction is going up. The price of shipping is crazy high. Like, it's very possible that even when people are paying like the $39.99 flat rate for shipping, that we are taking a loss on that portion. Like every single shipment. I mean, unless it's like going 5 minutes away on a truck. Every other thing involving a plane is going to be more than $39.99. And that's with my pretty good discount. If you could estimate, what time do you think the live show will end? Please say never. We are looking at another little bit less than 2 hours, I would say. Usually we're out of here by 5 o'clock my time, Eastern. Do you have a time frame for each month when you do your live sales? So Tyler Gore, usually the towards the end of the month. We haven't like scheduled the next show or anything like that, but generally speaking, it's towards the end of the month. One of these days, I should actually set up an entire 12-month calendar, shouldn't I? Blame it on Trump. You can blame it on whoever you want. The reality is, prices are up. Prices are way up. And yeah, trade wars, probably not helping things. But you know, a lot of it maybe not even just like the trade war news and stuff. Like one guy was just saying, it's just simple supply and demand. For whatever reason, people are building like crazy, and that's just driving up the cost of raw materials. It's simple supply and demand. But what's weird is, like, I don't know if it's, you know, like the Main Street type middle class Americans that are doing all this development. I wonder if like a lot of it is through foreign investment, because it's like, who's doing like all this construction and all this development? It's like everybody I know is kind of, and by the way, I know some rich people, but I also know like some middle class people. It's like, I don't think anybody's out here in a huge hurry just to be like building a ton of stuff, except me. And yeah, I just don't know like where this is all coming from to have that kind of demand for building. It's really crazy. People having money is way up. Is it? Oh, the hurricane. But the hurricane thing was like last week, though. I mean, this is a yellowbird? Okay. Best season I've had in my general contracting business. Yeah, I don't doubt it. Yeah, I don't doubt it. Do a calendar with Tidal Gardens live events and pictures of all your corals. I would buy one. That's awesome. Yeah, construction is making out. Now, having said that, construction needs to show their butts back up over here and finish my building. Because I am about done with these delays. Yes, someone 6 weeks. No chance of shipping to England? Yeah, I'm afraid not. US only. So, one day we might figure out the international shipping, like what can and can't be done. In some cases, it's like, it's really hard to figure, because even if you can get around the CITES portion, because CITES is really talking about stony corals, not so much soft corals. The bigger issue is having the field offices here and there that can actually deal with this sort of thing. And it's also up in the air whether or not I need the export license as well as you needing the import license in your country. So it's not just like, oh, it's just like Amazon, I just order it up. It might be a little bit hairier than that. Matthew, best SPS for people moving on to SPS. So SPS, it's like a huge blanket category, and they don't really share a ton with one another except for that polyp size. Like Leptoceras, a lot of people consider this an SPS. It's very different than what people would even want to care for with like an Acropora or Montipora, right? So if you're looking to get into it, Leptoceras is actually not a bad choice. Other good choices might be like Pavona, Pocillopora, Stylophora, Bird's Nest, Seriatopora. Do you dose aminos or anything else before a live stream to get everything looking so happy? No, we don't. In fact, I would argue that things are not happy. Like, just a simple fact of us setting up the live show makes them unhappy. Now, as far as like feeding goes, yeah, we do feed. So they're getting like a squirt of, whatever is in bulk packages of krill and mysis shrimp. But we actually don't do aminos right now, but I want to get back into it. The reason why we don't is because I literally ran out and I haven't ordered more. So if any amino acid manufacturer wants to like do me a solid and send me some, I'm open to that. Hold them to their contract, add in some clauses if needed for any future ones. Yeah, really. You know what the worst part is? It's like they're like 99% done. And that 1%, who knows? Who knows? Abdul Ghaffur Adama. Hi, Than, Indonesian here. Hey, what's up? So hopefully maybe you have some answers as to why there's an Indonesian ban on corals. Quick, everybody ask the Indonesian. No, it's a big, obviously it's a big topic in the industry right now. Yes, and do you know Rich Brian? Do you generally do soft corals, LPS, and SPS? I'm trying to figure out if I should check out now since I won't be buying SPS. It's kind of a mixed bag, okay? So sorry, Nick, like the average time that somebody spends on this live show is about 20 minutes. So there is some repetition, but it's kind of like irregular. So different people popping in and out at different times. I don't want to do like the entire soft coral thing, then the entire large polyp stony thing, then the entire SPS thing. Because again, people consume this live show in chunks. And yes, you can check out the easy mode SPS video that we've put up. 113. Did you hold retainage on the contractor's work? Yeah, it's not about payment. Like, I've told this story on one of my update videos of the building, but these guys, okay, one time we had like a big check for somebody, like 5 figures, okay, and we're like, we got an invoice to do, for the work up to a certain point, right? Because actually up to that point we hadn't paid them anything, not a deposit or anything. I mean, they did like about 70% of the work, and so like, could we get a check for like that work that we did before we go any further? I'm like, sure, I'll write you a check. All you need to do is show up and pick it up, okay? And then we can talk about the next steps in the project and see where we're all at. It took him weeks to show up, to pick up a 5-figure check. Like, that's how completely insane the construction world is right now. Joseph Lama, checked it out. Thanks for all the corals. Great show. Sub. Thank you, man. Glad you like it. Give me some of your contractors' numbers. I'll make some calls. You know what? That is... Okay, so here's the thing. It's not like Than is a crummy general contractor. Dan is a general contractor by total mistake. Like, the entire time, I had thought that somebody else was going to be the general contractor. Like, we were talking to this builder, and we thought this was like a kind of like a full service builder thing. No, this guy's just the guy framing up the place. Like one day he's like, yeah, you need to get your plumber in here to finish up some underground. And I'm like, aren't you finding like all the other contract? Isn't that like what you do? You build the building for us, like you're the construction guy, right? No, he's not. He's just the framer, which in the grand scheme of things is maybe about like a third of what is actually going on to make this building a real life building. And so I had to be like a general contractor out of thin air. I have no skills at this. And yeah, it stinks. So that's how I've spent like the last 12 months. It's like me being a general contractor. Now, having said that, we probably saved a whole bunch of money doing it. But did we really? It's like the number of headaches this has caused. Yeah. So look for other contractors, perhaps. Now, I would, Olga, but it's like you're so close to the finish line. I kid you not. The electricians have less than 4 hours of work left to do. The septic guy literally has a phone call to the inspector to make, and he's done. Like, this is not difficult stuff, right? This is not something that I need another contractor to do. It's just, guys, find 4 hours, finish your work, get paid, get out. It couldn't be simpler. So like, it's just that last, crossing the finish line. But it's like crossing the finish line at the North Pole or something where like nobody can move. I don't know. It's the weirdest situation. Is there a way to see the corals that were presented earlier, or are they gone? I think you can scrub back in the timeline just on YouTube. You can give that a try. Sounds like babysitting. It is babysitting. Well, no. It's not like babysitting. It's babysitting is when they do something wrong. And so now I have like trust issues, and I can't assume that you're going to do the job right. Therefore, I have to stand over your shoulder and ask questions to make sure that you're not burning my building down once you leave. Like, that's babysitting. Just the whole calling and being belligerent thing. Oh, by the way, if you're nice, I try to be nice, low key, low stress, toned down, right? The only time guys show up is if I'm the biggest jerk in the world. It's like, why? Why do I have to be a jerk? Why can't you just be like a professional, show up, do your job, like we had discussed? But no, that's not how that works. I have to be like very unpleasant. Very unpleasant. But sure enough, I am that way. They show up the next day. So there you go. So yeah, I wish it was baby. Well, actually, I don't wish it was babysitting. I wish that they wouldn't make screw-ups. But screw-ups happen. I get that. But when they happen, for the next couple weeks, now I feel like I need to ask you how you're doing your job, which is also like something I don't want to be doing. I don't like telling people to do their job, right? They should be doing their job. Ugh. Anyway, that's a heck of a rant, right? Do you have a contract with them? If so, maybe you can ask a lawyer to warn them if they will not. Exactly. Like, I need to now bully them legally. No, it's crummy. Like, but you know what? It's one of those things also. We are getting really close to that finish line. Aren't you an attorney? Yeah, I am. But I'm not non-practicing attorney. I wonder if the contractors don't want to finish the work, because if you found someone to finish their work, they can say, it wasn't me if something goes wrong. Technically true, but like at this point though, the building functions. It's just like they need to wire like a couple of sockets here and there. They need to put in some insulation here. It's like, it's some really basic stuff. Like if something horribly wrong was going to happen, it would have happened months ago because that's the last time anybody was working here. No, it's that's not likely, but at the same time, it's like it's a frustrating process. Now, again, first world problems. It's going to be a really nice building. It's going to be a really nice building one day when I'll just like look back at this and honestly not remember all the annoying like scheduling issues. Not going to remember like all the times that like some excavator hits a gas line or cuts through an electrical line or hits the water line for the third time that day. You know, like all of that fun stuff will be like, oh, whatever, no big deal. We have a nice building. I can just like, just erase that part of my memory and just move on. Time for DIY Than. Yeah, Than was painting the other day because I was, also the other thing is I'm kind of done writing checks for a little while. So I was like, you know what, because I asked the painter, like, how much do you want to paint these doors? I got a number. I'm like, I'll be painting the doors. Yeah, it's like I wish I didn't need to be that guy, that belligerent guy, but it's, yeah. And a lot of the stuff in the studio I'm DIYing. Is growing and selling corals your full-time gig? Yes. Do you have other income jobs as well? Kinda, but I've kind of phased a lot of that stuff out. Like I used to do, so when I left like the office-y world, let's call it, I had like consulting contracts with like biopharma companies and investment groups and blah, 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 kind of continuing on that, in that realm. But that stuff phased out. Funny thing is, Olga, not that nice. So anyway, we're at the halfway point. Real quick, I'm going to say my thank yous to the Patreon crowd. And thanks again to all the people that had put in super chats. You know what? Can I hit this? I wonder what this is going to do. Okay, so thanks to 2 Please, Ernie Wallace, K-Town Reefer, Alien Scientist Fan, 2 Please again, such a bro, Space Force Commander. So thanks so much for the guys that had put in super chats in YouTube. And this is another special thank you for the folks on Patreon that had donated to the $5 level, and so they get a shout out on this show. So thank you, Alan, Christopher, Dave, Kevin, Mark, Nate, Robert, Ryan, Steve, and Trevor. Thank you all. Yeah, trust me, like every little bit helps. So, and of course, thanks to everybody that's actually shopping during this whole thing, getting your questions answered. I'm sorry, like I've gone on a total rant on this whole, next door building thing. It'll be fine. It'll be fine. Okay. So moving on. 128 we are on. That is the Carnival Favia. Okay, so Ernie. So I've hit the 250 in coral, but paid the shipping with the first order. Do I need to do anything here? No. We will send you a refund for the $39.99. It'll probably be like Sunday or Monday that we do that. Well, we'll see. But you'll. So sometimes people pay for shipping twice by accident. One person paid for 4 things of shipping by accident. Everybody gets refunded. Pepanecker, greetings from Mexico. Hey, how's it going? I would love to visit Mexico again. Mexico is one of my favorite places to go and just chill out. Like, I'm one of those people that when I go on vacation, I do a very, very bad job of actually relaxing. But Mexico is one of those places where I can just settle in and relax, which is nice. Derek, damn, the 1080 looks amazing. Thank you. Yeah, I like it. I mean, so it's not only just 1080, but it's also 60 frames per second. So everything like looks extra smooth. So when you see like, by the way, I don't know why it's so dusty in this tank, but it's like snowing in there. I was going to mention that earlier, but it's like,
The fish like started rooting around in a pile of something that's sprayed.
yeah, it's like the fish are like kicking up all kinds of debris. But Yeah, it's like you can, but everything looks smooth. uh, Herb777, do you ship to Israel? I'm afraid I don't. Um, we only ship to the U.S. We're looking into shipping into other geographies, but right now we're not able to spend a lot of time doing that investigative work, but it may be a possibility. But the bigger worry in any geography is whether like there is even an office there for customs to deal with this sort of import export, and you will probably need to have an import license, which can be expensive, and the shipping is going to be, it could be, gosh, I don't know, it could be thousands. I mean, it totally depends. Like it's very expensive shipping.
You don't need an import license if you intend to resell the stuff.
No,
No?
just to bring it into the country. Yeah, shipping is no joke. Thomas Poindexter, you and Mark are live right now. Uh-oh, border skirmishes. Where is the ring light? It is right there, but it's not close to my face, so you can't see it actually in my pupil. So for a ring light to actually, put in like the little creepy circle, it has to be about 6 inches away from your face. The best vacations are the ones where you don't make a whole lot of plans, just pick a destination, show up and relax, maybe do 1 to 2 things a day. I think part of the reason why I'm able to do that in Mexico is because I've gone there enough times that I've done so many things that I don't feel like I'm missing out. Like there's no like touristy things that I need to hit up. I can just sit there and in my like all-inclusive and just sit there and just sit and sit. And somebody comes and says, would you like some ice cream? Yes, I would. Like that sounds amazing. And just do that all day. If we order today, does it get shipped on Monday? It gets shipped on Monday for delivery Tuesday, unless we have insane volumes. So if we have insane volumes, what tends to happen is we have to push it off until a later date. Also, sometimes people request a later date, and so we work around that as well. But generally speaking, almost every order goes out on Monday for delivery Tuesday. Okay, so Brian is asking, do corals do better in species-only tanks? Not necessarily. You run less risk of hostile interactions between corals, but you also run into like very specific depletion because it's all the same coral depleting the same thing. So you might run into like a trace element issue or something like that, where some little critical thing gets completely soaked up because it's all just one coral doing all the soaking. 2, please. All right, got to roll out later, Than. Thanks for everything. Thank you. Hope you had a good time. How important is it to clean out your sump? I rarely do, and a huge cloud of stuff made it into my display. I'm kind of a clean fanatic, so I like to keep stuff cleaner. I don't know how necessary it is, but I like to stay up on that stuff. How do I request a delivery for Friday? So just go to the Contact Us, send us an email. I think it's just orders@tidalgardens.com. Support, orders, either one. And just say what your order numbers are, and we'll take care of it. Jess Ramirez is saying, I'm trying to sign into my account, and it says my account has been temporarily disabled. Ugh. That's a weird one. I reset the password and it's still getting the same message. Temporarily. Okay, so we've updated to a new website. And so you might have to create a new account. I don't know if you've created a new account on this new website, because all the previous account information is no longer there. We went to a completely new platform. So Jess, if you could answer that for me, that'd be helpful. And to do that, you need to also confirm and everything, confirm an email account and stuff like that. So if you've gone through that whole process and it's still giving you this error, just let me know.
Feeling that you can always check out as a guest.
Yeah, or you can always just check out it as a guest in a pinch. That'll also work. So Derek, what's going to be the hot coral for 2019? I have no idea. If I had to throw something out there, I would say it could still be the weird acros. It could be and I call them weird because it's hard to get them to color up to what you see on Instagram. But there's some highly desirable acros that are difficult to color up. Yeah, so Andrew K is repeating what I said. If you haven't signed in a while, the past account was for the old site. Okay, yeah, she's trying it now. All right, nice. Let's see. Yeah, this guy's really cool. It's a Stylocineala. So this is one of those weird things where it's kind of similar to a Parietes. It's kind of like Monty-ish. It's kind of like Alveopora, because those things can extend a little bit, but they're microscopic. Tattooed Dancer. I have a maze brain that's outgrowing its plug. Soon it's a tennis ball size. Can I control spherical growth by putting it on something flat and wide? Or will it grow as a sphere? I think that keeps growing as a sphere. "2019 coral is going to be Blastomussa, I'm calling it." You might be right. There are some really nice blastos that I'm seeing. And we have them classified as Merletis on our website. They might not be Merleti at all. There's actually a few different types of Blastomussa, and a lot of it gets lumped into Wellsea or Merleti, but there's some tweeners in there as well. And some of the ones that we're selling might be those tweeners. Yeah, if the Indonesian ban stays in effect for an extended period of time well through 2019, any of the really, really hot high-end Indonesian corals are going to be, they're going to be, for instance, Australia has Acanthophilia, which it's like a meat coral. It's kind of like a scoly, rough texture, gets really big. Some are very colorful. Some meaning the ones that are not in Australia. The Australian ones tend to be green, sometimes muted pinks and oranges, kinda, maybe. But the real crazy stuff was always Indonesian. And the most expensive coral we've ever sold here was a $1,200 something Indonesian Acanthophilia. Looking back at some of the specimens that we've had, that other people have had, it would not surprise me if somebody's private collection Acanthophilia sells for $10,000. Would not surprise me. Because there are some ridiculous ones that look like they've been hand painted. That's how crazy their coloration is. They have that many colors and they are that separated out. If you open up another browser, look for rainbow Acanthophilia or something like that, and pretty much all of that stuff is going to be Indonesian. You know what's strange? I bet like a good percentage of the corals that we're doing on this show are probably Indonesian. Like this might be Indonesian. This is probably not. This could be Australian, I think. Yeah.
This next one definitely is in there.
If you were to do a Zen style tank with just a single coral in it and minimal live rock, what coral would that be? You're not gonna like my answer.
146.
But we'll let other people chime in for just a sec. If you guys in chat could pick call it like a theme tank, right? With only one coral. Minimalist looking, one coral. Obviously one type of coral. What would you go with? Ben says snake corals, snake polyps. He has bad taste in corals. He has terrible taste in corals. Okay, that didn't work. I got a message that said the account already exists and has been locked. Contact sales.
What's the last name?
It's Ramirez.
147.
147. Okay, so you know what? We'll go to 147 real quick. I'm going to use a bathroom break. Ben is going to see about Jess's account. And I will catch up on everybody's designs. One sec, I'll be back. Okay, I'm back. Okay, so Jess, I think that that Ben might have fixed your issue. I think you have to like reconfirm,
She just needs to confirm her account.
or just confirm your account. So check your email, check your junk mail, and all that stuff.
148.
Okay, moving on. 148. All right. So what's everybody said? Lobos, Elegance, SPS, Scully, Acro. Love them Zoas, Rock Flowers, Sunburst Anemone, going with the high dollar stuff. There you go. Chalices, Hammers, Mushrooms or Acans, Rod's Reef, Acans,
149.
Angela, you picked my coral. I was going to go Xenia. Definitely Xenia. Kenya Tree, they have an amazing display at the Seattle Aquarium with that. I think that might have been a complete accident because Kenya trees will make themselves a display. Wallhammer, Sarcophyton. Hawkins Echinata, interesting, okay. Rainbow Monty. Icefire Echinata. Collab with Coralfish 12G? Question mark. One of these days. Yeah, so I think he's on vacation right now. He lives in Chicago, goes to school in like Wisconsin or something, and and he's been meaning to visit. If he's ever in Ohio, in Northeast Ohio, I think he'll make an effort to come here. We'll film some stuff. It'd be great if he can come for a live show too. Like I met him shoot, like the first time I met him in person was I think in DC, which could have been like 3 or 4 years ago. Chris Harkins, like I knew you would say Xenia.
151.
It's the only coral that has that kind of movement, you know? And I like corals that kind of have that, I guess, that have that dynamic appearance all on their own like that. And you know, there's different types of Xenia. Again, most of the cool ones are from Indonesia. And actually, the one really cool one is actually kind of brown colored, so people don't generally like it. But it forms like really long arms and hands. And for whatever reason, like historically, we've never been able to keep it alive, so we just stopped trying after a while. But I'm all... No, it pulses. Yeah, our trash doesn't pulse. Our trash Xenia, no. But I could definitely see doing like a theme tank with that. Thomas, Leptoceras at the moment. A really massive, pretty carpet anemone. That's a good call. Like there's like pinks and reds that are very cool. There's bright blue ones. Yeah, I could see that. Tube anemones? Yeah, maybe. What? Or sea apple? Toadstool leathers. You know, toadstool leathers, I was about to say, they're really underrated. Except that they're totally not. They're like very expensive. They're fetching all kinds of high prices right now. Like if you have like nice colonies of sarcophyton. Cispicularia, that's a good call too. You know, what's really weird, I don't see too many people with Cispicularia, and we might have like one piece left from whatever. It doesn't grow that well for us, but if you're able to keep it alive and keep it growing, Cispicularia is some of the coolest stuff. So Tony's wondering, what is a Skittle, Platygyra, and Care? I would treat it pretty much like any maze brain. It's going to be a little bit more like sensitive, but at the same time, I think that it is more or less middle of the road. So middle of the road lighting, flow, you know, water chemistry that's going to be pretty much on par with, you know, what you would do with any other LPS. And you can even feed them. Okay, good. Can you check the color temperature? This is looking a little blue. It looks awesome, but it is looking a little blue. Is it 7,400 Kelvin? Okay. All right, then we're good. Because that looks pretty cool. So a lot of our photography tends a little bit more towards daylight. So, and I guess that's a little different than what you would normally see online, where like everything is like super heavy actinic. Because we kind of go with this combination of coral plus and blue plus. That definitely looks blue. So auto that. Let's see where the camera thinks it should be. Ugh. That wasn't it. Okay. All right. Maybe it is just that purple, guys. Maybe it's just that purple. Okay. Yeah, this looks a little bit more neutral. Okay. That aquarium kit. Toadstools are just magnificent and beautiful and just fabulous, but also hard to find in the Netherlands. Interesting. So I've been meaning to take a trip out to the Netherlands. I've never been, and I'd like to see it. Also, one of the largest coral distributors in the world is in the Netherlands. It's called like De Jong or something. De Jong Marine Life. And they're absolutely incredibly massive in the EU. I know that. So it is surprising that you guys don't see toadstools. I'm surprised that you don't see like a little bit of everything. Oh wait, I was behind, right? No, you're 159.
160.
Oh shoot, I'm sorry.
You want me to go back?
Yeah, go to 159 again. Sorry guys, my bad. I dropped the ball there. Boom. Okay, that's 159. Let's go ahead to then 160. Sorry for the confusion there. I got caught up in some story I must have been telling. Now, I hear really good things about the Netherlands. Like one of my friends from high school, he used to do a lot of business in the EU in general. Like he did a lot of tours and stuff like that. He's like a cyclist, and yeah, he loves the Netherlands. And he basically said, "I would love the Netherlands." So I haven't been like to anywhere in the EU since like high school, and I really have been meaning to get a trip out there again. Do you practice Tai Chi? I don't. I used to do karate and taekwondo, but not so much anymore. And I would like to try to do like some sort of grappling, like Brazilian jiu-jitsu or something. But you have to also understand, I'm like in my 40s, and I'm sure that like whatever I thought I used to be able to do athletically, I can't do anymore now. I used to be able to play basketball and dunk a basketball. I can barely scrape the bottom of the net right now if I jumped. Like you could like maybe slide a credit card under my feet. It's pathetic. Yeah, Daejeon Marine Life in Denmark. In Denmark, they do a lot of the stores, but also some guy in England. Wait, so Denmark, I thought was a different company. Okay, so here's how lazy I am. There's like a couple of different Brazilian jiu-jitsu places here. Um, one of the, I'm just too lazy, guys. Yeah, uh, your body will get back there if you start doing it again in training. That might be true, but I think the first day I might be in like a full body cast, and not from like getting hurt. I think it's just like my muscles will just be like, okay, and you're done for the week. You thought that was a good idea? You were wrong, son. Somebody was asking about Florida Recordia earlier. Here we go. And I just love how you guys say Dejong. I don't know how to say it. No, it's like, trust me, like when it comes to a lot of like the Dutch pronunciations of stuff, I have no idea. It's De Jong means the young in Dutch. Do you guys dose potassium aside from using a calcium reactor? I do not, no. Potassium, so we did a video on potassium specifically. It's, people like think that, oh, potassium is like a trace element. It's actually not a trace element. So trace elements all put together are like less than 1% of what's in salt water. Like much less than 1%. What makes up the majority of saltwater are called major elements: calcium, alkalinity, magnesium, obviously sodium, chloride, and actually like potassium is up there, but potassium is not like super bioavailable, I guess. Is that the right phrase I'm looking for? It's not like consumed in super high quantities, I guess. So you typically don't have to keep on adding it because it's not really being expended. For human usage, are corals used for anything other than aesthetic, I mean? There's some talk about doing research as far as like the UV resistant qualities to make like sunscreens and things like that. There's some studies as far as using it in like cancer therapies.
Paleotoxin, from their arrows, the hunt for pain.
Oh yeah. I guess like, way back in the days, like, people used to use like palytoxins as bioweaponry on spears and stuff. What's the difference between Discosoma with bubbly tentacles and a Rickordia? Well, they're a completely different genus altogether, right? So I think it's going to be like the density of those bubbles is a big deal. Whereas like the Discosoma is actually kind of uncommon, right? Whereas like how common is a Rickordia without bubbles? Like it's not existent. Okay, let's see. Looking for red fluorescence in coral for medical field. Okay, interesting. Yeah, painkillers, I could see that.
173.
Yeah, and just like anything like cytotoxic or neurotoxic, like all of that could, play into pharma. The thing about it is like pharma takes so long for anything to actually hit market that I wouldn't hold your breath. If they're still in the lab, if they're still at formulation stage, it could be a really long time before you see any technology come from like that level of pure research. Like people don't usually realize this, but it takes like on average something like 10 years and $1 billion to get a drug to market. Cortez, did I miss the hammers? I think you missed a few. Are there more coming up? Oh, okay, yeah. You're in luck. You're about to see some right there. Here's a little sneak peek. 176 is going to be a hammer. My dentist has a reef tank at the office as a calming effect. I don't know what it is about doctors and dentist offices, but they really do love them some fish tanks, don't they? Yeah. So these guys are all branching hammers from Australia. They're a little slower growing than what you'll find in Indonesia, but they're pretty prevalent now. I think the only if there's like a drawback other than like the growth rate is that they're a tad bit expensive, but that's going to be much less of a drawback when you start to see what the prices of Indonesian hammers are going to be in the future.
77.
It's like, yeah, I thought that they were expensive until, oh man, until you get some real expensive stuff when there's like no supply. Just picked up a Medusa Monty cap for my LFS. Ever heard of it? Never seen one before. I'm not familiar with that one. or at least I'm not familiar with the name. Let me do a quick little Google image search. Medusa Monty Cap. And every Montipora under the sun comes up. So I'm not familiar with what that one looks like.
78.
How can you tell an Indonesian hammer versus an Australian hammer? So amber, you can, I mean, if you've seen like a million hammers before, you can kind of tell. Like the Australian ones are like a little bit stubbier, a little bit fatter heads, and they're the ones actually coming into the country. But the Indonesian ones tend to be, I guess, a little bit more fleshy. It's kind of hard to describe, I guess. But the other thing is to also know your supplier, and then he can tell you where he got it from. Where do neon green toadstools come from? I believe those are Indonesian. But there's a couple different types of neon green toadstools. So it kind of depends on which one you're looking at. Wonder if they have fish tanks in the doctor to calm people in the waiting room. I could see that. Blue Basin Aquatics. What's up, man? Well, I guess corals are good for feeding parrotfish. You know what? A lot of things eat corals. Not just parrotfish, like sea turtles eat corals and all kinds of stuff. Angelfish. What are the most expensive torches nowadays? Probably the golden torches from Australia. I mean, as far as like I'm concerned, that's like the nicest looking ones, and they're not that easy to propagate. So I would expect them to still fetch a fairly high price. Color. It looks like a blazing red burning bush. It looked cool, but that's not what that coral is. Yeah, this is closer. The background is also very blue for some reason. It's you know what? I know why this particular background is more blue. It's like a different material than the other backgrounds. Yeah, it's weirdly shiny, and it's weirdly bluish shiny, even though it's supposed to be black. What do you think about bubble corals? They're nice. They obviously, it's not something that's very easily propagated, only because the growth rate isn't like all that sustainable. But they will heal from cutting. In fact, a lot of them can suffer some severe damage and still like recover and grow like smaller colonies from that. As far as like their care requirements, they're very much in line with what you would consider a typical LPS would need. You know, talking about medium light, medium flow, perhaps some feeding. They're actually very easy to feed. Like you wouldn't think with just like with bubbles that they could grab onto anything, but as soon as you put food in the water, the bubbles start retracting a little bit and the tentacles start coming out, so they can actually grab food pretty easily. Not one of our newest videos, but one of the slightly older ones. We did a talk about bubble corals. I would do more, but I just don't even have any specimens to shoot right now. Ernie Wallace, any acros? Yes, in fact, you're in luck. In about 5 or 6, there's going to be a few acros. There were some earlier as well. I'm not sure about the numbers though. So here's a pro tip, okay? If you guys wanted to be extra sadistic or masochistic, you could like rewatch the stream in 2x speed just to like zip through the corals. Nick, looks like I'll be spending a Saturday each month drooling over my iPad screen. This is great. Glad you like it, man. Glad you're able to attend. 186. Okay. Ah, yeah, I'm glad you pointed that out. Okay, so we call this a hybrid. It's not really a hybrid, but it's like two different birds' nests that are basically growing right next to each other and they're not fighting at all. So it's kind of like, yeah, you kind of get like the best of both worlds there, but it really looks like they're fused. And if they're actually fused, we really shouldn't be selling it. But it's a cool appearance, I think. If they're fused, that's some next level coolness. Oh, thank you. Have some oranges for my scurvy. Oh my, that's sour. That is like a lemon sour. Oh my. Where do your corals come from? Are they shipped from Aussie to LA to you? How does that work? Very interested. So Keaton. So we get our corals from a number of different places. Now, a lot of our operation, it's not like a typical store that would just have a supplier bring in lots of corals, sell the corals, bring in more corals, sell the corals. We do a lot of propagation here. So when we try to acquire corals, we're looking for like specific species that can be propagated. But if they can't, then we go through the supply chain. So there's actually like a few different importers that we can work with. And so it would go essentially from like Australia, pretty much direct to them. It might stop over in LA just to get like rebagged, but yeah, it's a quick hop to there, and they have like I guess it's a little bit more than a holding facility now, but we can typically cherry pick exactly what we want because we are very particular about what we're looking to get. So that's kind of how that works. But I would say the vast majority of our acquisitions are going to be from like a lot of individual hobbyists, believe it or not. Dan, even if I can't get some of these candies, the show just makes my weekends. Thank you for that. Well, thanks again for showing up. I'm telling you. It really helps, like all the activity and then in the community. It's really cool. Why is it called a Jedi mind trick? I don't know. So yeah, it's just whatever the saltwater community just deemed to name that, and so we go with like other people's names more so than like naming stuff ourselves. A lot of times, if you just like Google search these names, the idea is that we would show up when people search for it. So if we were to come up with our names for everything all the time, that wouldn't be as effective, I don't think. So we just try to use what other people are naming the stuff. Gabriel, is there a price to have you hand delivering I don't even know what that would be. Would not be cheap. Andy and Nancy, what lens are you currently using? This is a Canon 100mm f2.8 lens, sorry, f2.8 LIS. 100mm macro. Yes.
Coming back at 194.
Jason Fox is where you get diver direct. Used to. Used to. That was in Indonesia. Hey, Than, has that $750 coral been shown yet? Not yet. Not yet. Mad River Reefs. I'm not getting notices from clicking the bell. Just a heads up. Man, YouTube does not want subscribers to be a thing at all. It used to be like subscribers got notifications. Not really anymore. Then it's like people that had to ring the bell got notifications. Not so much anymore. So it's like they just want to like lean really heavy on their algorithm. So yeah, it's really tough. Well, after watching the stream, I have to go to run to my LFS. I'll be definitely buying from you in the future, but I need to talk to my neighbor about putting together an order. If you and your neighbor could come up with an order big enough to get free shipping, it's a good value. The names really should be appearance based. Like a lot of times, sometimes we revert to stuff like blue something something something. Like it's not even that complicated. Blue Chalice of the Bear. If you get that reference. Something 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 of the boar. Sorry, I'm like looking at my display here. Wait, so I messed up again. Somehow I messed up again. Could you go back to 197? Okay, that's a grafted Montipora cap. Don't know what I'm doing, guys. I'm slipping. And then 198 is the Twizzler Zoas. So again, sorry for the confusion. There we go. I've had a black torch frag for about 8 months now. It's never extended as much as it was at the store. Any tips? I've never even heard of a black torch. Let me let me Google image search that. Let's see if it's really black. 199. Oops. Hold on. I got it. There we go. 199. Little brighter. Oh, there you go. Okay, so we've had that before. Yeah. I didn't know that it was called a black torch coral, though. Sounds cool. That is Indonesian. I think. Yeah, cool coral. Yeah, so ribbity reptiles, you might want to see if there's anything bothering it. Like that type of thing is really susceptible to getting flatworm damage and stuff like that. Alien implosion zoa, they're very common here. Not off the top of my head, I've not heard of that. So like a lot of these, like, you know, these random names. How much is it for free shipping? So Chris Okel, it's $250 to get free shipping. Okay, so let me quickly do that search for that Zoa. See if I've ever heard of it. Alien, that looks like Oh, well. Like, every Zoa comes up. Sorry. Yeah, I don't know which one that would be. 202. This is one of those Blastomussa Merlettis that might not be a Merletti. Let's see. Heavy gun 1450. Do you like Australian or Indo corals better? I can't make a blanket statement like that. There's definitely some highlight species that are nicer, in my opinion, in some geographies versus others. But as a whole, I can't really say. For instance, there's like, I like Australian Micromussa and Acans way more than I like the Indonesian ones. I like the Indonesian Acanthophilia way more than the Australian. So yeah, it's tough to say. $204, some Duncans. Any discounts for orders over 500? There's not any that are built in, no. Nothing like that. The discount would be the free shipping. And actually, pretty much everything during this live show is in some way, shape, or form discounted. And there's also sale items in general. But like volume discounts are like much different. So I guess like the biggest way to get a volume discount like through the site right now is to buy like the packs. The packs are heavily discounted for volume. Okay, so pause real quick. Hold on. So we'll go to 206 and then I want to go over the rules. So this guy is a yellow scroll. That's number 206. But real quick, so skip. Your best bet right now is to go to titlegardens.com/live. And on there, you'll see a link that says, like basically how this all works. You'll see like all the different corals there, and you can check out as if it's like a regular item. These are all just the numbers. So we're on 206 right now. Shipping is a flat rate $39.99, and it's free over $250. But long story short, that's how to get there. But definitely click on that link off of the titlegardens.com/live page, because that'll go over all of that in much greater detail for you. Okay. Yep, we're good. Yeah, it's like I need my MVP moderator Lisa to throw in all the links for me. So somebody was asking about Leptoceras earlier. I'm really surprised at how many different varieties we have now. I think that we have like 5 or 6, yeah. How is salt lost in an aquarium? Believe it or not, it actually gets into the air. Like, I never thought that was the case, right? Because you always think that whenever you have evaporation, the water stays in, or no, I'm sorry, the water evaporates, the mineral content stays in the water. And so you just keep topping off with more fresh water, some more RO. But we actually had like a furnace in this greenhouse a long time ago, and it's like easily, I don't know, 6 feet in the air, far away from any of the tanks, and over time it would collect salt on it. So the salt was definitely getting into the air, and it would get on. We used to have like half of this place used to be plants on orchids and stuff like that, and the salt would get on the orchids. Really, really weird. Star polyp, they frag themselves and float around the tank. Don't know. At Brian. Who's Brian? Oh, yeah, we were just talking about that. Yeah. It's not something that I would have expected, but salt gets on everything. Like airborne salt gets on everything. And that's why like we actually put in coolers here. Like they're old like store refrigerators, like glass store refrigerators. And the intention is, well, and they don't have the refrigeration units anymore. But the idea was just whenever we had like electronics and stuff that we needed to protect from the atmosphere, we would just, you know, stuff everything into those. But yeah, it's definitely salt gets in and on stuff just being around. Do you have any recommendations about corals that grow well in the back class? Lepto, Cyphastri, and crusting Monty? Monties definitely will do well. You can also have like a lot of success doing that with Zoanthids. Plating Monties can do it too. My tank crashed after some bubble algae took over my entire tank. Should I start over or keep trying to fight it off? You can find stuff that eats it. Like, I don't know how big your tank is. So if your tank is tiny, you might not have those options. But if your tank is like, I don't know, say like 75 gallons or so, like a foxface will absolutely mow that stuff down. Like, completely eliminate it. There's certain tangs that might eat that as well. Typically, those are going to be bigger, so that's not going to work in a smaller aquarium. And there's like emerald crabs and things like that like to eat bubble algae. You guys let us pick up the corals if we are local? Yes. So every visit here is by appointment, but we can set up a time for you to come in and pick up corals. That is also a great way to pick up shipping and lower stress on corals. Are there chalices that encrust rather than plate? Lots of them, yes. So a lot of the ones that look like they're plating are essentially just encrusting. Okay, Focus 57. Than, I just wanted to make sure I'm doing this correctly. I made 3 separate orders so far. The first order added the shipping. The following orders I added add-on for $0. That is correct. Okay, so 30-gallon emerald crabs didn't help. At that point, you know, here's the bad news is you probably want to restart. The good news is restarting a 30-gallon tank is not that hard in the grand scheme of things. It is a manageable project. And by the way, as far as zoas go, this is one of my favorites. The My Clementines, probably my top 3 favorites. I just like how punchy and separated the colors are on this thing. Do you carry Armor of God zoas? We used to a long time ago. We have a lot of ones that look similar, but I don't know if we have like the original Armor of God. You know, once we get like the new facility set up with tanks, the very first grouping of tanks will essentially be like adding half this greenhouse over there. The second group of tanks will be like getting this entire greenhouse again in capacity. So a lot of these like little species here and there that we've been wanting to get, but we just either don't have space for or get lost here, we can set up over there much more easily. Like a lot of the problems that we've had here, not problems, but you know, things you learn over the years, right? You learn how to do things better and better and better over the course of 10 years. We essentially don't inherit any of our, you know, bad decisions that, you know, we were just kind of stuck with here. Like we can start completely from scratch over there, and I expect it to be so much more productive. So I'm definitely looking forward to that, so that we just have more room to really grow out the cool stuff. Very much looking forward to that. So by the way, all you guys placing orders are helping tremendously towards that project. The contractors are letting me down, but you guys are not. So thank you. Yeah, and thanks for, like, again, all the super chats. Thanks for all the purchases. Thank you for all the Patreon subscribers. You guys are all A-okay in my book, helping a ton. And it helps also just make content for this channel. I mean, like, I haven't made as much content as I would have liked because I'm basically doing another 40 hours a week job, just doing all the general contracting stuff. But, you know, a big part of what's going on next door is like an entire studio. Like, I'm kind of like cramped into like a little corner of the greenhouse here just to put on this show. But over there, it's like we're making like a real studio. It's going to be fantastic. How many gallons are you setting up in the new place once it's complete? I'm not even sure on the final gallon count. It's going to be between 10 to 15. Okay, this is what's crazy. My estimates could be off by 5,000 gallons. It could be anywhere from 10 to 15,000 gallons. But more importantly, it's not the volume that really matters. That sounds weird. But on that scale, it's about making the volume that you have highly productive and easy to maintain. So a lot of the space that's in the new building is not allocated to tanks. It's allocated to walkways. It's allocated to work areas. It's allocated to just places to actually conduct maintenance and things of that sort, and the layout itself. So we decided to go with like a single level of tanks. Like, we're not doing like any kind of double-decker thing. Because theoretically, for the same square footage, you could have double the volume by going double-decker. In our experience, a well-maintained single tank at the right height, the perfect height, is better than two tanks doubling the volume at not so great height. So one is a little bit too tall, one's a little bit too low. We would have been better off getting the correct, perfect height and just have one tank. So our total volume, like if we wanted to, could have been 30,000 gallons. But would it have been a good, productive 30,000? No. We could have. So we're going with something closer to, let's say, 12,000 gallons. But we'll be every bit as productive, even with less real estate. That's the plan, anyway. Stale meme, nice suit, thanks man. I have to dress up for you guys, it's all for you. No offense, Stan, but I'm glad I live in the UK so I can't get any of your corals. I'd be penniless and not to mention single and homeless, as Mrs. Duck would give me the boot. Hey man, there's some good parts to single life, let me tell you. I don't know if I would be able to live my life if I had a significant other. Partly because I have terrible taste in women. But anyway, what was that sound outside? Oh. 227. Is it possible to change my shipping location after? I now rather have this go to work instead of hanging outside my home. Send us an email. And we'll try to get that situated. We'll have to make a special note of that. Got some Recordias still. You know, for the longest time we didn't have Recordia. Like for the longest time. Because for a while there, it was, well, for a while, a lot of the Recordia in Florida had died due to this really weird like heat wave. Where like, there was like a really heavy brine water patch. So because it's brine, it's heavier and it's settled at the bottom and it was super hot, like 90 degrees or something like that. And it just like wiped out all the stuff, you know, at the basically on the ground level of the reef. And so for like a long time, a lot of these Florida Recordias just simply weren't available. And my particular supplier that did a lot of the importing, he was very reluctant to get Recordia because a lot of it was coming from Puerto Rico. And it is kind of questionable how legal it is to get those corals. And since he's like high profile and like Fish and Wildlife are very much in contact and are watching his activity, not because he's doing anything illegal, but he's in such contact with them that he can't like mess up in that way, and certainly not just for like a shipment of Recordia. So he was like not bringing in any Recordia, but I was luckily able to find somebody that is in Florida that had found actual Florida Recordia, and that's what you're seeing here. Because many years ago, I had ordered Recordia from somebody, and that person, actually, so about like maybe a month after I placed that order, I got a call from the feds because they were like raiding that particular place or something like that. Because it turned out that lady was poaching from a national park. That is generally frowned upon by Fish and Wildlife. Thanos protecting his image, lost the painter outfit from the other day. Yeah, exactly. Which was so super ironic because so this was on like Rico's live stream. Yeah, he he was actually the one wearing like a shirt with a collar for like the first time in forever probably, and I was the one in like workout gear painting. 234. Pink bird's nest. I wish this stuff grew a little faster because it does really well here. I think that as far as like that coral is concerned, they need more light than like a lot of like bird's nests actually don't need very much light. Pink bird's nest I think does. What is up, Rossi's coral? I haven't seen you in forever. Rossi used to be a regular on these streams. Let's see, Dr. Welsh. I have a Rasta colony going from 6 to over 120 last count. Should I frag it and sell it as a whole? What do you think it's worth? A colony that big of Rastas would be pretty good here. I don't know what it's like in your neck of the woods, but that would sell for quite a lot here. Like Rastas are a high demand coral that no one's going to see imported. Even if they were imported, they struggle. But the geographies where they exist aren't imported or aren't exporting to here. So yeah, that's a super valuable coral. Have you ever tried Eheim's Power LED Plus? No. They're great in strung light, very low wattage and great spread. Gives good growth, very T5-like. Have not seen anyone with them though. No, I really haven't. Like Eheim is not one of those brands that's like super. They're not on the top of everyone's mind like some other brands are. It's like a legacy brand. They make fantastic stuff. I think a lot of their stuff is like still made in Germany. No, I'm completely not familiar with that light. They probably like don't even need to care because it's like, oh, we just sell all our stuff to Walmart. Or whatever the international equivalents would be. Give an exact money estimate. So we sell Rastas for something like $60 for like 4 pups. Something along those lines. So if you wanted to then like extrapolate that, but here's the thing, okay? It's the hardest thing isn't to propagate corals or grow corals. The hardest thing is to sell corals. So if you don't have like an active sales channel, moving something like that is that valuable might be challenging. So if you could get a couple $100 for that, that's pretty good. If you're a coral farm that could propagate that out and then actually move, what is it, like 40, 50 polyps of that, you'll do pretty well. But at that volume, you might still not, you would be making $60. So, you have to back that down. So, yeah, you can kind of get an idea. Yeah. I can't tell the difference between Palys and Zoas half the time. A lot of people can't. So I was in contact with this researcher over in Okinawa. He's probably like the zoanthid identification guy, and not like blue blood moon zoanthids and stuff. No, no, no. He's doing like genetic research. So like all of our all of our stupid names, he does not care about. What?
I hate all my names.
Yeah, all these dumb names that Ben came up with. So I was like talking to him, and I wasn't super duper extra clear on what is a zoanthid and what's a pally, because the previous thing was a zoa. This is also probably a zoa, even though like the size very different and everything like that. I think like true Palythoa are very different than zoas. But in the hobby, anything that's like a really big polyp sometimes gets called a pally. So it's like doubly confusing in that way. I think that most things that people think are pallies in this hobby are really just zoas. I think unless it looks like a Palythoa grandis or like a purple death or a nuclear green, like that type of shape, I don't think they're pallies. Like this would be called a pally, no problem on the internet. And yeah, Rossi's experience with Rastas is a lot of people's experience with Rastas, especially if they were recently imported. And that's like the part of the reason why stuff like, Fruit Loops are in such high demand. Because I would say that like almost every Fruit Loop colony that did come in from overseas would die within a week. Almost all of them. And so all the Fruit Loops that you're really seeing in the industry, they're all propagated, which means you're paying like a pretty big markup on that scarcity, because if there is nothing coming in. But now, like, I don't even think that there's anything really coming in. So I guess it doesn't change the mathematics any. But yeah, I mean, we're still looking for Fruit Loops, you know? So I think that's part of the reason why I would ever even consider going to some of these shows. I want to buy Fruit Loops. Do zoas have palytoxin? Some of them might. Some of them might. Not nearly as much as like true pallies, but some worth a little bit of concern if you're into that. Or Fruit Loops. Yeah, now I wish that like you weren't in the UK so you could sell them to me. Hey Lisa, Lisa's back. Lisa's back for the home stretch here. Than, my man, come to the Netherlands. Fruit Loops and Sunny D are dirt cheap. Not here. Those are expensive here. My Utter Chaos is one of my favorite frags that I purchased from you. Utter Chaos is sweet. We started with a 2 polyp colony of Utter Chaos. That's it. We've grown it into more than 2 polyps. And I didn't catch what the pricing of that toadstool was. Whatever it was, somebody should snap that up. That's a nice piece. That's going to be rather difficult to acquire later. What causes zoas to shrink? You know, that's a good question. I think a lot of it has to do with, so we're excluding the really, really bad stuff, right? Like something is actively eating the colony, which, by the way, a lot of stuff likes to eat zoanthids. Lots of stuff eats zoanthids. But assuming that nothing is eating the zoa, what could cause it is just detritus settling on the colony. Some of the best extension that I've ever seen is from like really high flow areas that keep the entire cluster clean, so nothing is collecting at its base. The other thing is lower light. Like actually make the colony work to stretch out a little bit towards the light. You're gonna get better extension, but maybe muted color, because as it extends, it's also diffusing the color. It's not as concentrated as when it's tucked nice and tight. So a little bit of give and take, but if you're looking for extension, higher flow, lower light, and making sure nothing's eating it. 250. Uh-oh, we're getting into the final stretch of the high price stuff, guys. When I go to my cart, some say it's out of stock. That will change my total. Will that change my, or do I have to delete the items? I'm not sure. You may as well delete them. And yeah, that's what I mean. Like sometimes, you know, if you don't check out fast enough, somebody else might be checking out. So you kind of have to click quickly. So some shows are slower than others. This one seems to be like a pretty fast-paced show. So yeah, that's why, you know, I recommend, you know, like checking out quickly. Yeah, this Lobo's sweet, especially when you hit it with the actinic. It brings out all like those like the little racetrack of rainbow craziness going. And we've been feeding this guy nicely, so he's like really stable and healthy. Okay, so people were interested in seeing what our little 750 guy is. It's our Master Scully here. This is the first Master Scully that we've had here in about 2 years. But yeah, I finally bit the bullet and purchased one. And it's one of those deals where you have to buy like all these other corals if you wanted to buy the Master Scully. So I'm like, fine, we'll give it a go. I don't expect it to sell on the live show, but I did want to show it to you guys, because you know, like when it comes to like really nice Scullies and stuff, they sell faster than you might think. You know, and I don't have any doubt that it's going to sell on the website after the show. But it's fun to see, and it's fun to talk about. You know, like this one here has got like this cool red and green face, and then you get into like the rings of the different colors and the different striping, and there's like little tiny highlights of the minor colors, like the reds and the yellows all throughout. So it's pretty slick. 252. Okay, so this one is going to be a little hard to explain. So this is an Australian Scully, okay, but they're called Croc Island Scullies, Crocodile Island, and they're a little different in appearance. Could you focus on the mouth of it to get the center portion? There you go. So these guys here actually have like a lot of like diverse and interesting color highlights, in addition to like this weird texture. But yeah, that is a Scully, and it's from like a weird geography. Now, this variety, if you want, do a search for like Crocodile Island Scully, but type in yellow Crocodile Island Scully, because they come in like the most vibrant, insane yellow color morphs. But let me tell you, those are all going to be 4 figures and above. They're cool though. They're really cool. So this is one of the red ones, which is a little less expensive. What are the sizes of these? I would say that they're at least like what, 2-3 inches?
This one's about 2.
Yeah. So Joe Gomez, somebody on Facebook wanted 5K for a Croc Island Scully. I don't doubt that, because I know how much they cost. I know what quality they come in as, and I know what else you have to purchase in order to purchase that one. Not that fun. Not that fun to fork over, but 5K is a lot. I'm not saying 5K is not a lot. 5K is a lot. Okay, 253. We're almost at the end, guys. We're almost at the end. It's almost dinner time. Are these Northern Territory? Not sure, Rookie Reefer. You know what? Like, who am I kidding? I don't know Australian geography that much, but where is Crocodile Island? Tell me, Dr. Google. Northern Territory, yeah. Okay. And lastly, we've got a giant elegance. How big would you say this? Like 9 inches. 8-9 inches. Huge. All right, guys. We're done. We're done with the live show. So, quickly, One last thank you to the Patreon crowd: Alan, Christopher, Dave, Kevin, Mark, Nate, Robert, Ryan, Steve, Trevor. Quick shout out again to the super chatters. So Two Please, Ernie Wallace, K-Town Reefer, Alien Scientist Fan, Two Please. He gets mentioned twice because he actually put in 2 super chats. And Space Force Commander. All right, guys. Thank you so much. Hope you guys had a good time during this. Let's see. Any last minute things that I just missed? Don't think so. All right, guys. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. I need to get something in the way of dinner. And I will try really hard to get to everybody's emails this evening. But we'll see. I will be around tomorrow as well. So, I'm meeting around for email tomorrow. Not doing a live show. But yeah. Hope you guys had a good time. And once again, happy rafing. And I hope to get another video out fairly soon here. Yeah, that's it. Take care, guys.